Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 115. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I am Sean Whalen, Dr. Norge on the CGS forums, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim. Here's something I always wanted to say. What's that? Set for stun. But that's all it does anyway. I know that's all it does. Just go with the flow. Okay, Captain Kirk. So says the sensei of the whatnot Segulin. Did you read Nightwing 143?
Not yet.
That's this month's book.
I know. I'm behind on my reading, dude.
Yeah, Nightwing 143 was awesome. They have this great buddy cop sequence, and I won't obviously spoil it for you, but it's between, obviously, Tim and Dick, Nightwing and Robin, and I am really enjoying what Peter Tomasi's doing on that book. So I was like, when I saw that whole sequence, I'm like, all right, we'll use that one. It's kind of fun. We are, as always, proud members of the Comics Podcast Network and the League of Comic Book Podcasts. This episode, Jim and I are going to be finishing Countdown. Yay! We're going to go from 4 to 1 and talk about the closing of Countdown and give our own thoughts and finish our in-depth dissection of this weekly series. And we're also going to be doing our top bullets for April, all the books from April. This year we're going to be chatting about, which is going to be a lot of fun. First top bullets, Jim. Actually, this is our first top bullets of 2008.
Yes.
This is back as a monthly segment now, though, so we're going to continue from here on in doing top bullets every month and chatting about that. And actually, we thought of a couple things we might add to top bullets for next month's feature that we'll talk about when we get to that point. So I'm really excited to have that back. We are continuing to support the Hero Initiative. The Hero Initiative is a chance for us to give something back to the creators that have given us so much enjoyment. They provide yesterday's creators with emergency medical aid, financial support for the essentials of life, and a chance to get back into paying work. And for more information about the Hero Initiative, visit www.heroinitiative.org or call 310-909-7809. And a couple of our listeners already have donated for the t-shirts that Joseph Luciano made, the Raging Bullets, and we still have more of those. So please either PM me at Dr. Norge on the forum, or send me an email to ragingbullets@gmail.com if you're interested in getting a t-shirt. They're only $10, and it's all the proceeds go straight to... As a matter of fact, I'm paying for the shipping as I'm shipping out the shirts, so I am not deducting that from anybody's donations. So that's kind of another way I'm donating, in that every penny that you send into Raging Bullets is going straight to the Hero Initiative because I care that much about the whole thing. I think it's a great idea. And Joseph donated the shirts, so I figure if he's going to do that, I'll donate the shipping. And we'll send them out. And that's kind of my way of helping out, too. So, Hero Initiative. I think it's great.
Yeah, this is a cool thing. You know, I like doing this. I like just more than just a bunch of goofy guys talking about comics. We're actually trying to help out somebody, and It's a cool thing.
And honestly, if you don't care about the t-shirt one way or another, please consider donating to the Hero Initiative. Because to me, it's really important. Joseph, it was important enough to him that he donated the t-shirts. So just go to ragingbullets.com, click on the link. It's PayPal directly to the Hero Initiative. So if you don't want to donate to us, donate directly to the Hero Initiative, and go ahead and do it that way. And just like I said, even just the cost of a comic book is something that helps them out if we're all pitching in. Our sponsors for this episode are DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Jim, another Absolute's coming out. It's driving me nuts because I got the trade of this. It's Frank Miller's Ronin. The Absolute Ronin hardcover's coming out this month. It's 50% off. It's regularly $99, only $49.50. So for anybody that's saying to themselves, boy, those Absolute volumes look really good to me, how can I afford to get them? At 50% off, you're saving $50.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've never read Ronin.
Yeah.
I've never read that.
It's great. It's great. That's one that I'm eyeing, though, because it's another Frank Miller landmark story that I would love to have in my collection in that oversized volume. Ambush Bug Year None. 1 of 6 is going to be coming out. There's 75% off on this one. It's the Keith Giffen, Robert Lauren Fleming. It's basically the same team is back together again doing this one. And if you've never read Ambush Bug before, it's total satire on everything that's going on in the DC universe and in the world of comics in general. They just have fun with it. I can't recommend this enough. Jim and I previously talked on the show about Ambush Bug, but this is all the spoofs, everything is going to be about current comic continuity. So it's going to be a great chance for you if you're looking for something that's just a lot of fun to read. It's regularly $2.99, only 74 cents.
Dude, how do you pass that up?
I don't know.
Under $1 for a comic, so
Yeah.
you can't pass it up.
And it's just going to be good fun. So, I mean, 75% off. That's crazy. Final Crisis number 3 of 7. That's if you're not getting Final Crisis, it's kind of like crazy. But that's Grant Morrison, J.G. Jones. This is going to be the 3rd issue, and regularly $3.99, only $2.39 at DCBS. So, I'm on board with that. Whatever your shipping preferences, whatever your bag and boarding preferences, DCBS accommodates your collecting needs. And don't forget our in-stock trades book of the month, which is Legion of the Superheroes and Eye for an Eye. It's either going to be next week or the week after, and I'm still working that out with Darth Kramer. He is from the Shades Journal podcast. He's doing a whole podcast on Starman. So it's on the Jack Knight Starman. So if you haven't had a chance to do that, but he's one of our contest winners. He's going to be on in the next 2 episodes. And look on the website and on the forums, and I'll post information when we finalize that. Basically, that one, though, if you haven't joined in grabbing that book, it's regularly $17.99, only $11.33 at In-Stock Trades. So it's a big discount. And I was looking for Vertigo fans. You're going to want to check out the Faker trade paperback. I know you were a big fan of that miniseries.
Faker was an awesome series. It was a fun read. It had little little twists and turns and whatnot in there that I was like, oh, okay. Just when I thought it was going to go one direction, it kind of deviates a sharp right, and I'm like, whoa, what? Oh, cool. So it's a definite must read.
It's the Eisner-nominated team of Mike Carey and Jock, who basically 4 friends party hard one night like there's no tomorrow, and the next morning there are 5. And it really is a psychological horror story. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed the series immensely. I picked up the trade, actually, because I enjoyed it so much I wanted to have that collected. But it's 37% off there. It's $14.99, only $9.44. I mean, it's kind of, if you look at the original issue price, you're like saving on that one. InStockTrades.com is your source for your collected edition needs. Thank you for supporting us, DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. We want to thank all of you for supporting us with Podcast Alley, Popcorn, and iTunes reviews, and so much more. Anything you do to let people know about us is tremendously helpful. Visit RagingBullets.com to check out show news updates, listener-generated content, DC release dates, which I update weekly, and much, much more. We add to the site every week, and thank you to listeners for the various reviews, parodies such as Funny Bullets, Where's What Not Now. I'm getting stuff every week for that. And, if there's something you'd like to have published on the site or have an email and audio comment for the show, send them to ragingbullets@gmail.com. We love having you a part of the show. And that is one of the nice things. I do tend to prioritize audio comments, mainly because we are an audio medium here. So if you're a listener and you're taking the time to put together an audio comment, it flows nicely into the show. So, you notice that we've been doing a lot of New York stuff. We had the chance, we met listeners in person. So obviously right now I'm prioritizing that content because we met listeners. And Jim and I are talking about putting something together this summer. And we'll share some more over that in the coming weeks, where we might have another opportunity to hook up with some of our fans and meet some of you guys, basically to sit down and chat comics, and hopefully have you be a part of the show. So we'll be talking about that over the next few weeks. But I really enjoyed at New York being able to one-on-one chat with some of our listeners and be able to put that on these episodes. So that's why it's being prioritized. After that, we're going to be getting back to our regular emails and forum comments and things like that and bringing them back into the show. But that was just, for me, that was the highlight of New York, Jim, was being able to have the Eye River there and to be able to chat with as many people as we could. And if we missed anybody in New York getting you on the show, I apologize. Send me a PM, because there's ways we can work that out. If you were in New York and we didn't get a chance to chat, I'd like to get you on for just like a quick little audio segment. So, Jim, what is Top Bullets, this thing that we're doing this episode?
Well, Top Bullets is our way for you, the listener, to get involved in the open discussion we have here. Send in your top 5 picks of the comics for the month. Maybe throw a little something about why you're digging the title, or if you just want to just say, these are my top 5s. We'll contabulate them, whatever.
What the hell is contabulating?
It's a combination of multiple words that I'm like, yeah. But
yes, we will. We'll contabulate anything you send into us. Next month, Jim will have a month to tell us what contabulating is. So.
Exactly.
It's a lofty process.
You couldn't have just let it go, could you? You couldn't have just let me continue.
This is my role.
Know your role. Okay. But we will tabulate the results, list the top 5, as well as give Sean's and mine top 5. If you want to make submissions, send it to senseiofwhatnot@gmail.com.
Next month, too, we're going to be picking the top listener and the top of yours and mine of the different lines. We're going to do a top Vertigo, a top Wildstorm. We're just going to do a single issue of each of those other lines. But any line that you're reading outside of the regular DC Universe, because we realize what ends up happening is when we usually do our top 5s, they tend to be DC Universe focused. So we figured for listeners out there who are reading some of the other lines, it'd be fun to have at least one title where we discuss the other lines. So we're going to have the top pick for each month of Vertigo, top pick of Wildstorm, just to kind of get the discussion going. So if you're a fan of any of those lines, listener one, if we get enough submissions up, maybe we'll do a top 5 of those lines from the listeners, depending on how many submissions we get. But it'd be nice to just have your voice out there. So any of you Wildstorm fans, I know Red Lantern from the forum, for example, is a huge Wildstorm fan. So please, each month, send us in your top 5 as far as what you enjoyed from Wildstorm, or your top, even if it's just your number 1 pick of Wildstorm, and a little something while you're enjoying that. Vertigo fans, I know we got a lot of listeners out there who are Vertigo fans. We want to make this episode fully interactive and get your thoughts in there besides just ours. So if there's something that you're like, guys, why aren't you talking about this? This is your chance to push it. Because it really is, that listener part of the segment is really where you get the discussion going on those books and why you're enjoying them. So that's important to us. Jim, what kind of podcast are we?
Well, we are a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth in a plotline, story twist, and whatnot of the comics we're reviewing. So if we're going over something you haven't read, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
All right, Jim, you know what? With that, let's go ahead and get right into Top Bullets.
Hello, Sean and Jim.
All right, Jim, finally, Top Bullets. We're back again doing this one. Jim, I have some honorable mentions, if we could, before we start getting into our whole thing. Some books that didn't make my top 5 this month. This, for me, and I know you and I talked about this on the phone multiple times, this was by far the hardest month for me that we've ever had to do this. There was so much good reading this month that my top 5 changed repeatedly as I was going through the whole process of looking through there. There are books, and even at this point, I'm kind of like, I'm very confident that the top 5 books are the ones that I want in there, but I'm still like, there's books where I'm like, geez, I wish there was some way I could put them in. So I have some honorable mentions that I would like to throw out there. JSA, which I think is stellar month after month. Justice League of America. Flash fans should have read this month's issue, as it deals with his role in the JLA and actually answers some questions that probably fans have had since his return as far as his relationship with the Justice League. The Flash. I'm loving the story and the art. Tom Pyre has added just a fantastic story with the villain spin. I love the family aspect of this title. The kids only add to the book. And this month's issue was the second part of a great exploration of the importance of a secret identity and how real-world issues of employment and expenses play into the very real world of the superhero. We've talked many times on the show, Jim, about how being a superhero looks fun and glamorous, but that these people dedicate themselves at expense to their personal lives. And this is a great exploration of that. I liked the realism of this book. Freddie Williams' art, I'm always loving. I love at the beginning of the book how there's that fun, like, up to speed segment that it fills you in on what's been going on in the story, which is great if you're a monthly reader, because I'm reading a lot of titles, and it's great to just get a quick little refresher. Hey, this is where we were at last month. So I'm finding value in it, being somebody who's been reading all of the issues. So it's a fun one. Blue Beetle number 26, which was the Spanish issue, art by Mike Norton. Can't tell you enough how much I really enjoyed that unique issue and the script in the back of it. I didn't realize, when we were talking about it last episode, I didn't realize that you didn't know that the script was in the back.
No, I didn't until afterwards, and it made for an interesting adventure because, as I said, I pulled up a Google language tool, and I'm typing in sentences. I'm like, I think it means this, and I plug it in. Oh, okay, yeah. By the time I got to the end of it, I got so sick of typing. I'm like, I'll just go by the pictures and see what I come up with, and and it was then after the final page, I see the script, and I'm like, don't.
What? You know what I really realized? It was funny. We recorded this, and I guess it just didn't register to me that you were saying that. Neil Gray on the forum, Red Lantern mentioned on there that was it only my issue? And I didn't know what he meant. So I was like sitting here defending the whole it was everybody's issue and all that. I was totally dumbfounded. And then it started to register. I called you later, and I said, wait a minute, did you not know? I thought you were joking.
No.
You really did do that.
Oh, dude, this is serious, man.
That was really funny. But besides that, another book this month that I thought was great was Batman Death Mask. Did you read that, the CMX?
I have it, but I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
Without spoiling anything, it's an interesting look at Batman and the mask, or is it Bruce Wayne? You know, which part of it is hidden? Is it really Batman? Is Batman the mask, or is Bruce Wayne the mask, is basically the gist of that story. Batman's dreams are haunted by a shadowy killer that looks suspiciously like him. The art and story are very sharp. There's a manga feel to it, but with a core story that feels very much like a solid Elseworlds Batman title. I will gladly follow all 4 issues of this. It was interesting to read the Batman book backwards. The panels are all backwards and everything. It's I like the way CMX does it, though, because they do this in their little trade collections as well, where right in the beginning they tell you how to read the book, because, we're so used to reading in the opposite direction. I really enjoyed the experience, though, and it's very well written. It's very true to the character, so a lot of Batman fans who maybe pass this one up might want to consider picking up the first issue. Tangent, Superman's Reign. Have you been reading that one? Did you pick up the 2 issues?
I picked it up.
What if Superman was a bad guy and the ruler of the world? And there's a sharp issue 2 art by Jamal Igle. It's great to see the Elseworlds storylines. It's going to be a 12-issue story. It's a maxi series. I'm a big fan of those. Elseworlds, to me, I want to see more of this. This is the kind of storytelling I want. This is what I was hoping with the reintroduction of the multiverse. Because it's been a while since we've gotten really strong, meaty Elseworlds stories. And it's nice to see those coming back into the forefront. And, of course, Nightwing 143, which I ranted about at the beginning, how much I'm enjoying that book right now, and really kind of getting back to the roots of Nightwing and what makes that character so cool. That is a cool title every month, and again, it's another one that didn't make my top 5. These are all books so that I'm just kind of geeking out about at the moment randomly, and I'm kind of like, they couldn't make it into my top 5 list. There's one more title that didn't make my top 5, and then I'm going to let you go ahead onto your list. DC Universe number 0. I loved DC Universe number 0. We talked about it all last episode, and I wanted to get it on there. It's funny. I will say this, though. Some of my titles that are in my top 5 are in there because DC Universe number 0 jazzed me up so much for those particular titles. So, not all of my titles in the top 5, but some of them are in there because DC Universe number 0 invigorated that. So it is one of those titles that kind of has pushed me into a certain direction about certain titles, but it did not make it into my top 5, and again, you heard me last episode, that's not a knock in any way on quality, and I will have the second printing because I want the new cover. Yeah. There's a sickness there. Although at 50 cents, it's not really too bad of a sickness. Jim, why don't we go ahead and go on to your top 5 list, because I just did a major rant. Huh?
Go to listeners?
Why don't we go with... Do you want to do listeners first, or do you want to do yours and mine?
Go with listeners, then. We usually do theirs first.
Let's go ahead. We'll go with listeners. That's fine.
Yeah, why not? And
it's been so long.
Yeah. What I did with this, if you submitted at any time, it got included in with the tally. Because I didn't want people who submitted for January, February to be left out of the mix. So I took everybody, I contabulated them, and this list isn't. If you put yours like your selection for number 5, but there was like a dozen selections for this thing, it got bumped in the list. This isn't like people said this for 5, or this is the submissions in the top 5. These are the top 5 of the top 5.
So in other words, the ones you got the most of from the listeners.
Right. And we have a lot of honorable mentions. There's stuff you mentioned, Countdown to Final Crisis, Salvation Run, JSA, JLA, Batman, Blue Beetle, Batman and the Outsider. There was a lot of different that didn't, Wonder Woman, that didn't make the cut just because I only took the top 5. And we had a lot of actions, a lot of just responses to this, so it was kind of cool seeing people kind of geek out and enjoy their comics. Can you keep doing the honorable
mentions like that? Just some of the other titles that the listeners are shouting out? Because I think it's great for listeners just to say, hey, somebody sent in an email about this, so it's great. I like that.
And 2 honorable mentions. I do want to read what the comments were made on them, and they are Why the Last Man. Patrick Gibson said, I know that it's a series that you have lightly touched on due to its bulking background, and also that it has to compete with some of the other titles. But I think it deems some light here, and I agree completely. I'm really loving Why the Last Man. I'm getting it in trade, and I'm enjoying the reading of it.
We have something coming with that.
Yeah.
We aren't ignoring Why the Last Man. We have something planned this summer with the Comic Timing Podcast. We're going to be doing a crossover, and the crossover is going to be Vertigo related. One of the 2 titles we're doing is Why the Last Man. So don't worry, we aren't ignoring it. Why the Last Man, I can't agree more with that comment. It's funny, one of the reasons why we're adding a Vertigo slot on there is because of that comment. When you and I were talking on the phone, you're like, "Did you want to know the listeners' ones?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you know them. We might as well go ahead with them." So when you mentioned that one, I said, "You know what, Jim? Let's go off of that and let's make sure every month for the other lines outside of the DC universe, let's at least have a designated spot for you and myself to make our top pick of the month for those specific lines."
Okay, and the other one I want to say, Scalped. Jay Ferguson sent in the start of the most anticipated storyline of 2008, and it is not disappointed. I totally love Dash's reaction to the events of the story because it makes total sense, and you still want to smack him. And I completely agree with that analogy. Just the description of Scalp, that is just a fun, good, cool read, and we gotta. I want to talk more about Scalped as well.
I wanted to actually. As we go on the next few episodes, there's another book that I want to talk about that I'm really enjoying, Young Liars by David Lapham. That's one from Vertigo right now. That it's a hot read. If you are not picking up Young Liars from David Lapham, go ahead and check that book out because it's a lot of fun as well. We'll talk more about it in the coming weeks, but Young Liars is great. Are you picking up Young Liars?
I'm picking it up, yeah. It's a good read. I'm enjoying it a lot. Okay, number 5, Green Arrow and Black Canary. Now, the one thing I really dig is everybody who put in a submission for Green Arrow said Green Arrow, Black Canary. They're not just saying Green Arrow. So I like the fact that, yes, it's, technically is the title, but some people would say just Green Arrow. They wouldn't, Black Canary's given her own, strength in the book, and it's recognized and all that stuff. So I like that, and it's a fun, cool read.
I'll save my comments.
Oh, okay. Neat little comment, though. Jason Page sent out. I had to cut this series a few months back for budgetary reasons, but your ranting and reviews helped me find another book to drop and pick this one back up. I agree with you guys completely. Bring back Connor.
So cool.
Yeah, we've gushed enough, and you guys know that this is a cool, fun read. So
I will be gushing more.
Oh, okay. I kind of figured that.
I might as well save it for the appropriate spot.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Number 4, Nightwing. I ended up actually taking another quote, that Jason had, and it was Peter Tomasi's transition from editor to writer has been flawless. He is hitting it out of the park with Green Lantern Corps as well, but these have been the best Nightwing stories I've read since Chuck Dixon run. Again, we've gushed about it, and we agree completely. This is just a fun time to read Nightwing, and I get why people, like when 1 year later came out, I get why people we're so adamant against the 1 year later, seeing these type of stories. Going, okay, this is what they wanted from Nightwing. This is the Nightwing they wanted.
And you never read the Chuck Dixon stuff. So it was kind of interesting to see it through your eyes. I got to say right now, it's really nice to see a Nightwing back again where not only do we have a great relationship between him and Tim Drake, however you want to view him, but also Bruce. The segments with Bruce have been spot on.
Yeah.
The castle and his whole lair has been just not. You know what it is? Nightwing has always been the character that, at his best, you go afterwards. He is just darn cool, and you should feel like that after reading every single issue of Nightwing. And this Nightwing is darn cool, and that's what it's all about.
Agree. Number 3 is Booster Gold. It's funny. This one, almost everybody had the same comment. You gotta love a buddy cop flick, and it's that same type of, what's not like, going back in time, messing with the timeline, fixing the timeline. It's Booster now with the blue and gold back together. There's some really cool stuff going on in Booster Gold, and I agree. Okay.
It's like you know what it is? It's like DC's Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
And I mean that as nothing but a compliment. Quantum Leap was just an awesome TV show, and this has that feel to it, set in the DC universe, and I love that. It's a wonderful, wonderful story, and that's completely oversimplifying what Booster Gold is, but to me it's got its own little place. I used to like from Valiant. There was a book called Time Walker from Valiant that jumped throughout history as well. This is nice because it has everything that I like about stories like Highlander and with Immortals and things like that, where you would see flashbacks. In this case, though, they go back to things like Zero Hour and a lot of these events where they make sense of things that happened in the events from a different perspective. I love seeing them confront, Extant and Parallax and stuff like that, and see all that whole bit coming back in again. Booster Gold's a fun book.
Yeah. Number 2, Green Lantern. Chris Campbell sent in, This run is starting to feel epic. I was worried about the transition after Sinestro Corps War ended, but this latest Secret Origin arc seems to flow naturally. I found myself drawing a lot of comparisons between this book and the Captain America run by Brubaker.
That's interesting. I'm assuming he means by quality, because they're two very different titles. I'm loving Captain America by Brubaker, so it's an interesting comparison as far as quality wise. I would agree that it just seems issue after issue after issue. It's
just hitting it, and you're just like, bam, bam. It's one of those where you pick up the book, you're like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this. I know I'm going to, and Then the number one pick by the listeners, which I tell you, the numbers crushed everybody else with this one. Oh God, yeah. This one had double the votes of everybody else.
So you got a lot of participation.
I got some pretty good participation, and this one was usually one of the top picks or in the top 3 of the picks. And we are talking Action Comics. Almost, I'd say probably about 75 to 90% of the comics all started with, wow, Jeff Johns is really hitting it out of the park. It's a fun, read. A lot of people, we're getting stuff from people saying, I love the Legion, I'm loving the use of the Legion, and we're getting the other stuff like, oh yeah, the art's going really cool, we're getting some great stories, we're getting some great interactions of Clark, and I'm like, yes, 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 and as I'm reading this stuff, I'm like, yes, 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 this is just a fun read, really, especially looking forward to the future of this.
This is probably this is actually one of my favorite segments that we do, because it's great to hear people geeking out over what they're enjoying and really putting out there. So I want to thank any listener who sent in an email to you about this, because I love this. I look forward to this and just seeing what people are excited about and shouting that out there, because I think it's helpful for people who are maybe new to the DC Universe, or maybe who have been reading for a long time but are looking for that new title to try, to kind of hear listener commentary, our commentary, and kind of make some decisions of their own as far as what books they should jump on. So that's fun. Thank you, and please continue to participate. We got May's books are out right now, and we're doing this again in June to talk about May's books. So please, this is back as a monthly feature, and we definitely want you. And you are going to email me the listener ones?
Yes, I will
so
email.
That way,
yeah.
Okay, I'll put those up on the website as well. Jim, you want to go ahead and do your number 5?
Well, my number 5 is an interesting story. I started off with my number 5 being Countdown to Final Crisis, Booster Gold, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Black Canary, Green Lantern Corps, JSA, and JLA. That started off the whole mess. And then plus a couple of the other titles that are going to be skewed throughout the, my top 5 were also included with this. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just knock all those out. So a lot of those are honorable mentions. Absolutely, love, Booster, love Green Arrow, Black Canary, Green Lantern, JSA, JLA, both of them. I was like, man, these are some cool, cool stories. But I had to give it to Countdown to Final Crisis. One of the main reasons.
You actually made a single number 5?
I made a single number 5.
Did you do that for the rest of them?
That's funny.
All right.
Yeah. I put this one there for a couple reasons. One, this story is building to this epic event that I wanted Countdown to be. You're seeing all the story arcs come together. We're seeing this really, which we're about to discuss in a little bit, an ending that is, an epic event. Plus, it's also just getting me so hyped towards Final Crisis that I'm like, I had to put it in my top 5 because it was the first book I'd grab to every week, and it's a book that is always still pulling me in. I was still like going, what's going to happen? What's going on here? I had to make it my number 5.
Cool. My number 5 is actually the only tie that I have, and there's actually a specific reason because I can't separate these two books. It's Green Lantern number 30 and Green Lantern Corps number 23. The reason why it's really what I'm enjoying the most about both Green Lantern books right now is their interconnectivity. They're both independent stories. You can be reading both titles independently, but when you're reading them both together, there are threads between both that kind of organically bleed over, if that makes sense. Certain characters and certain themes. from the Mongol storyline in Green Lantern Corps to the origin arc that's revamping things to set up the legacy of the Blackest Night. And I really like that, how it's adding something to the mythos that is going to pay off for us later in this epic storyline. We are seeing the development of the Red Lanterns, and I love that these books, like I said, very independent, but there's something more if you're reading both. It feels like this large scope and scale. Tomasi and Johns have to be commended. Coming off the Sinestro Corps, the books haven't lost any steam at all. Huge fan of Hal's history with Carol Ferris, and I'm glad to see it play out here. There's these nice further developments of Abin Sur's history and how he investigated the Blackest Night, and that it's a secret that has been buried and is now bubbling to the surface as like this prophecy fulfilling itself. We get to see stuff over in the core book with the development of the Red Lanterns. The Lost Lanterns tie into that greatly. It just seems to be constant flow of this police force within the DC universe, and it's why I really can't separate the two. So I would have a tough time taking one and putting them ahead of the other. I will say from month to month, does one book edge out the other? Possibly, but then the next month they kind of pop back in again. And this month, I can't honestly say which book out of the two I enjoyed more, because I really enjoyed the whole kind of organic Green Lantern experience that I had with the whole Corps, because I liked the Corps as a whole group. I loved Hal's story. I liked Hal's story so much because of Sinestro. Because Sinestro, I mean, he's the MVP supporting cast member. Yeah. I like the way, he's so much like Black Adam to me at the moment. Black Adam is like the cool bad guy. When he opens his mouth, there's always something interesting that comes out. He feels like Hal's mirror image. He believes what he says, and I love the dialogue where he offered to step up if Abin Sur needed him. I would argue that he is the guy you would want watching your back in those days. Very similar to Black Adam. Yeah. You certainly don't want to be on the opposite side of this guy. So, and that's the kind of he's a creepy guy. I'm not knocking that in any way, shape, or form, but he's also a guy you'd rather have him somewhere where you can see him instead of be wondering if he's going to sneak up on you. And that makes a very cool villain. And
he's not done yet.
No.
Yeah, it's because he's in the science cells. They're no longer just holding cells. They're now he's now on death row, but he ain't gonna die. Come on, you can't kill. This is a character you can't kill off.
And that's the political intrigue I'm loving as well. Now that this has been put into place, we've got an issue now where the Lanterns really have to deal with the fact morally, what's right and what is wrong, and it's kind of ambiguous. You can't. It's really hard to tell what the real law is and what the real rules are, because you see Lanterns that are banished, and it's like, well, but you said they could. Yeah. And there's never a clear-cut reason as far as when you can and can't use lethal force. They're making up laws as they go along. There's these 10 new laws, I believe, isn't it 10?
Yeah, it's the 10.
And they're creating them as they go along. And now lethal force has been enabled for everybody.
Right. And it's any police officer will have this issue. What is excessive force? Uh-huh. And a lot of the the police departments throughout the country have you can't have a set level saying if they do this I can do this. It's more of a flow. It's more of a feel. If your life, a life of an innocent bystander is currently in jeopardy or will be in jeopardy by your not acting, then it's authorized.
But here's the problem with the Lantern Corps. It doesn't and the Alpha Lanterns. You've got the Guardians who have one set thought of things. You've got the Alpha Lanterns who have another set thought on things. There are Lanterns that are being chastised for not going after family members who are part of the Sinestro Corps and killing them. But then there's another Lantern who does kill a member of the Sinestro Corps and is being chastised for it because of how they did it. So it really is very hard, and there's frustration that you can feel in all of the Lanterns as far as what is the right thing to do and when, and how would you know, because it seems the rules change from situation to situation based on whimsy.
Yeah,
and I am loving that feeling right now, because it's something that obviously the Guardians, the Alpha Lanterns, and the Lanterns themselves are inexperienced with, so they're making it up as they go along, and that never works.
Yeah,
and they're dealing with that.
Yeah, and they have definite problems, and this is just going to keep escalating to something massive. So, yeah.
Hal's relationships within the Corps, cowboy. Everything just seems to be a region, Ion. There's so much cool stuff going on in both books right now that these books just month after month deliver. And this month was positively they deserve to be in my number 5 spot for the top 5 because there was so much going on in both books that I really, really enjoyed, and I just have an impossible time separating the two. So that's my only tie. The rest, and I actually felt a responsibility to try and make my top 4 singles, because out of the two, it's really funny, out of the two of us, and I'm not even saying this complaining, it's an honest reality, out of the two of us, for some reason, it seems like everybody thinks I just randomly like everything. Whereas you seem to have this leeway to make like 20 different titles for your spots, and nobody ever calls you out. It is part of your charm, though, because I always look at your lists and the way they interconnect, too. So I find that I push myself to come up with a single list and then look forward to hearing your reasoning why you can interconnect. So I want to hear your number 4.
Well, my number 4 is a single.
Is it really?
Yes. Yeah.
I am very proud of you.
Yeah. It's DC Universe number 0.
Okay.
Just when you were sitting there talking about why it's on your honorable mention, it got you so excited. That's why I had to put it in my top 5.
Very cool.
Reading through that, I was like, oh yeah, the Batman stuff, that Batman story arc with him and Joker. I was like, oh yeah, the Legion.
Oh yeah.
Once again, I'm like, I am Legion happy now. I want more Legion stuff. I'm going out, I'm pulling stuff, and yeah, it's the Wonder Woman. It's all that. I'm like, So definitely DC Universe number 0 had to get thrown in my top 5, threw it on number 4.
And Green Lanterns, the whole Green Lantern story, one of the threads that got me so excited for Green Lantern this month and reading those issues this month was DC Universe number 0.
Yeah.
I think that like teaser to the Blackest Night, and then seeing the whole spectrum of lanterns, that totally for me kind of got me jazzed for that. My number 4 is Green Arrow Black Canary number 7. I cannot rave enough about this book. I literally leap right at it when it arrives. Ollie and Dinah are handled spot on. There's a right blend of humor and strong drama. I was worried that we would lose some of what made Dinah so great in Birds of Prey. In this series, basically the opposite has happened. Her character development has made her a strength in this series. We see her shine as a partner, not a sidekick, and there's a huge difference and distinction there. Ollie is stronger because she brings so much to the table, and it makes for a book that far surpasses, in my eyes, the previous series. This is the Arrow family, but I would be just as comfortable calling it the Canary family. It's, disguises, interrogations, detective work. This is definitely one of my favorite team books. It has that adventure feel that I've loved since issue 1, and I hope they find out what happened to Connor and somehow reverse it. The bits with Hal in the beginning. I didn't need my ring. I saw the zippers on the mask. It was priceless. Winnick and Norton are a fantastic team, and this is a must-read title. There's something that makes me chuckle every issue, but it's always appropriate to the drama. This is a very intense storyline. Ollie wants to know what happened to his son, and his team is there to support him. This is a team book, a team dynamic, every bit as much as what I consider things like Birds of Prey. Dinah is very much an integral part of this team. Mia is very much an integral part of this team. He is lesser without the two of them. They are equals, they are partners, and that's what makes this book. And Connor is necessary. I want him back.
We need to bring back Connor.
Yeah.
It's good. I know it's going to happen. I have faith that it's going to happen. When, I don't know, but eventually it's going to happen. I have faith.
We had a brain. Yeah. Your number 3?
My number 3 is Blue Beetle.
Very cool.
I tell you, we've raved about this title many times, but I think the grandma put it best in issue number 26. Esta familia apoyo el escarbo azul y todo lo que él represente. Let me apologize first to everybody who I've insulted by butchering your language, but I had to throw it out there because that's one of the cool things I like about this. This is a family book. This is a team solo book. You have the Blue Beetle. You have Team Beetle with all his buddies. You have his family, support him. You have him and the Scarabs developing a team-type relationship. But it is a solo book. It is about Jaime. It is about this kid who has his power, who becomes a superhero, who's got to deal with everything, as well as, time to save the world again. It's this really neat story that's going on. Issue 25 had that great cliffhanger, great ending to that story arc, built, and you see really just, the Scarab developing a sarcastic sense of humor. You see a friendly interaction between the two of them. You see them trusting each other more. 26 had the whole language all in Spanish, which was a great thing, but also it had a cool moments where Jaime completely just turned over the power to the Scarab, said, "Do your thing. You know the powers better than I do. Make it happen." And it was that trust. I was like, "Dang, this is cool."
The Scarab for me has become really cool as a supporting character. That is it's just a fun book. I'll be honest with you, if this was a month earlier, issue 25 would have definitely been in my top 5. And that's not a knock on 26. I thought 26 was cool as hell. I had a very tough time leaving it off my top 5 because of just the reasons that you said. It was why I said this month was so difficult, because there was so many good reads that it was really, I'm just banging my head, because I literally read everything that came out this month. And I was like, because I really wanted to say, okay, what is my top 5. And, this was just a hard month to narrow down a list at all.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman number 19 for me. Very interesting to see Diana on another planet. I loved the different tone. My favorite moments were during the battle when she has concern for Etta as a civilian and making sure she doesn't become an accidental casualty. Pro-Canon Ka, the Green Lantern versus Amazon. I loved how she has to analyze her opponent. She respects the threat that he portrays, and there is a political battle as well, which keeps the story multi-layered. And I really enjoyed that. The Kuns and everything that was going on there was just fantastic. There's some hell yeah moments, and this, every month I can say this about this title, and it's what keeps me coming back for more. She beats him and offers her hand. He refuses and attacks her. She keeps offering him, showing him respect, and shaming him in the process. To see the wounds on her face, her determination that this is what is right, and that she needs to teach that lesson by example is damn cool. Every issue of this run has a moment like that. It makes me respect and care about Diana in a way that I have not in a long, long time. The art is fantastic on the issue, and I'm really looking forward to Aaron Lopresti coming on board, because I think we're going to see a truly gorgeous book here. But this is a book, this is what a top-tier Trinity book should be, and it's great to see this. Your number 2?
My number 2 is, it's kind of a tie.
Okay.
There's elements of the main number 2 is Nightwing.
Okay.
And you're talking about the relationship between Tim and Dick throughout the issues, the rebuilding of Nightwing, his new base of operations, and so I kind of threw Robin in with there because of the whole Bat family. Right. I'm really digging the Bat family. I'm digging these two interactions. We saw with Dick with flying up to the limo to talk to Bruce. Hey, thanks a lot for that. Oh, no problem. Just that interaction between Nightwing and Batman. The interaction when he's in the Batcave suiting up. He goes, "You want to come along?" Yeah, and Robin jumps in there. It was just a cool moment. But also we're seeing the Bat family in the Robin title as well. Just his interaction with Batman, his interaction with Alfred, his interaction with an old friend, shall we say, has returned. Can we talk about this later, Tim? Tim? I cheered when I read that moment. So there's just so much going on with Nightwing, with Robin, that I'm just like gung-ho excited about.
You didn't read Nightwing 143?
Yeah. That's a May book.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
It's an April book, dude.
Oh.
It came out in April.
Okay, then I read that one. Okay, I thought...
That was the Captain Kirk one with them? Nightwing 143? That was an April book.
Oh, that was when they were doing the evasion type...
Right.
Yes. Oh, what the... Yeah, I read that.
I'm like sitting here laughing. I'm like, wait a minute, he's got this in his number 2 spot. He just got to tell him he didn't read this. Like,
okay, I thought... Okay, sorry. I thought you were talking...
No.
The one that came out now. Didn't one just come out just last week?
Not Nightwing 143?
I don't remember numbers.
Okay.
Come on.
Sorry. I'm sorry, was that it? I didn't want to... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. I was just baffled by the whole thing when you were going through your discussion. I'm like, wait a minute, but he did read that then. I'm like,
okay.
What is he talking about?
I'm confused on numbers.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut off your thoughts.
Well, one thing I do, it's... people we're talking about with the Batman RIP, will somebody take over the mantle for him? Mm-hmm. And there's been a couple comments on different people on the forums that they don't want, Nightwing to take over mantle of Batman because they're enjoying, his run so much. And at first I was like, it'd be kind of neat. And now I'm like, you know what? I agree with him. I want to see Nightwing remain Nightwing.
We've already seen it, too.
Right.
In the Prodigal storyline, which was very good. And it actually, though, that storyline kind of summed up for me why I don't want to see it. It was fun to see as, like, I don't know. I mean, we could talk Batman R.I.P. for hours, as far as speculating, as far as what we think. I'm not entirely convinced we're going to see somebody take over for him. I think it's a red herring. I still do.
Really?
I think we're going to see people fill in. There's a difference. There's a difference between people filling in for him for a reason in the storyline and somebody taking over for him permanently. I don't see that happening. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I really, RIP is
wrong.
one. Yeah, it's part of me was thinking, the Rock and Robbins, but I don't know. I still kind of want no one else to put on the mantle. I really want Robin to go out there as Robin, not as, Batman. And Nightwing, not as Batman. Just have them be themselves because, yes, there's an intimidation of the Batman, but they are trained by the Bat. They are his appointed, guardians of Gotham.
They round him off.
Yeah. But I would like to see them fly solo. Like, the signal shows up, and Tim shows up in the Robin costume. And Gordon, like, where's Batman? Like, he can't make it. I'm here. Okay, here's what we got to do.
And how cool, though, is, like, one of the nice things about these Nightwing issues have been you get to see a different sort of dynamic when Tim and Dick team up than you do when Bruce and Tim or Bruce and Dick team up. And that's nice because it shows how over the years, these characters have been fleshed out. They've had those changes from 52 with their relationships between the three of them, but they're all unique individuals. They all have their own place in the universe of importance, and that's what makes reading about them so much fun. So I think right now I'm like, you got it pretty perfect at the moment. Don't. So I don't know. I'm enjoying the ride. I'm very intrigued and interested in this whole thing. I'm not saying I would be completely ticked off or, my head would explode if somebody did take over for him. I'm enjoying the setup. I'm enjoying the ride right now. I'm just speculating. And I guess my speculation at the moment is Bruce Wayne is still going to be Batman at the end of this. So I'm going to throw that out. It's speculation. I don't have any, it's...
Yeah, I know. We're all guessing.
I've seen a lot of great guesses on the forum, too, where people are in different directions and why they're in different directions and what they'd like to see. And I'm enjoying reading them. And it's a lot of times whenever there's speculation between all of us, the truth is somewhere in the middle or a hybrid of a bunch of ideas.
The truth is out there, man. It's out there.
I got to say, our episode 114 thread had just a ton of speculation going in it, and in general. And it's always fun, whether we agree or disagree, to just get different ideas out there. To be able to have this kind of interaction now on this level, to me, is really exciting. A lot of people ask... Actually, we had somebody in the forum ask a good question. I didn't like the way he asked it, but the question itself was very good. Why do I tend to post in the forum more? I'm a school teacher during the week at school, and a lot of times when I get home from work, I don't have time to go straight to our emails. At work on my lunch break, which is my only real free time, I can pop onto our forum. It's one of the few things that's not blocked. My Gmail, and actually my regular personal email also, is blocked at work. But the forum I have access to. So because of that, I'll pop on, at lunchtime, when my kids are out at recess, and I'll check, and I'll respond to a few posts and things like that. So it's nice because I can get a more immediate interaction, and that's why I tend to post there more. Because to me, any interaction I can get from listeners is, and just to be able to chat with you guys, it's just a lot of the fun for the show for me. That's why I was geeking out over the listener top bullets. That's fun. That's as much as we can get you on the show. That's why we've got these audio comments at the end of this episode. So that's why I tend to post there more. It was a good question that was asked, so I don't mind throwing that out there on the episode. But what you got your number 2, right, for you?
No, that was Nightwing.
Oh, it's Nightwing. Okay, so my number 2.
You're number 2.
Action Comics 864. That's my number 2. Jeff Johns has crafted Superman stories that I just can't put down. The Legion arc was incredible, and this is a great epilogue issue that showed Lightning Lad and Batman and explored their varied relationships with Superman. Lightning Lad is the childhood friend and in many ways a brother. This is family. He knows Clark from his early development and you know, their awkward years and things like that. They both grew into men. They are basically there because of that friendship. Whereas Batman and Clark are trusted colleagues. They know and respect each other on a professional level. That developed into a friendship as equals, so it's a different sort of dynamic, how it arrived at that point. Both are very different, yet both respect those differences and what they bring to the table. This is in many ways a countdown epilogue. After the events that happened on Earth 51, we get the answer that the virus is now dead that killed Val. Batman is the analytical detective, and Lightning Lad is angry, the loud, emotional friend. He is very close to Val, and after the recent events in the Action Comics title, he doesn't trust any form of police, whether they're in our present day, which would be his past, or in the future. There's appearances by the Time Trapper and JSA's Tom Kaller, which provide lead-in details to the Legion of Three Worlds storyline. Joe Prado did a great job as the fill-in artist. It had a similar look and feel to the work presented by Gary Frank. Superman is in great hands, and this is exactly what this character and this legacy deserves. This is his anniversary, and I've never been so excited to pick up his titles. This is only the beginning. When James Robinson jumps on board, it's going to be an amazing summer of Superman. And knowing that these two books are going to be intersecting, this to me has been this last year of Superman storytelling to me. Action Comics I have not been able to put down. From the Bizarro arc straight on through to the Legion, straight on through to now, this has been what Superman should be. And I'm enjoying this character in a way I haven't in a long, long time. Your number 1?
Well, funny you should have that massive long rant. Because my number 1 is a 3-way tie.
Wow.
And you can probably guess who the 3 titles are.
Go ahead.
They are, of course, the Trinity.
Okay.
Action Comics. I'm just going to say ditto what you said. The whole Legion stuff, as I said, I am Legion happy. But it's not just Legion happy, it is Superman happy. I'm liking seeing Superman, his interaction with other heroes, with other people, with just seeing more of, Clark, as well as seeing the Kryptonian. I'm liking seeing this because it's not just when Clark loses his power that we see the man behind it. It's when he's dealing with these other superheroes. When he's dealing with these massive problems that only Superman can solve. We see the Kansas farm boy come out, knuckles up, does what he's got to do. Plus we see that interaction. Batman, with everything leading into R.I.P., I'm eagerly excited and anticipating what's going to happen. When I'm thrilled about a title, I start thinking about, okay, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen here? Oh, what about this here? I start looking at research online, the different theories that are out there. I have been doing that in spades with Batman. And it's just, I've never been this thrilled about Batman as I am now. Especially I talked earlier about the Bat family. Well, also Batman is that crucial element of the Bat family. And I don't know what's going to happen. As I said, I want other people not wearing the mantle because I do want Bruce Wayne to remain as Batman. I do want he is the one true Batman, and if he has to take some time off, I want him to come back later, as Batman. I don't want it to be a permanent change, and I talk about how, I'd like to see the heroes grow older and stuff like that. I still kind of want that, but I do want Bruce Wayne as Batman. I enjoy reading Bruce Wayne Batman. And of course Wonder Woman. Dude, man, I thought, just seeing the human side of Diana would be really cool stuff. We're seeing the rituals, we're seeing her involvement, but seeing the Amazon, seeing the warrior, seeing this, the ambassador of peace in Wonder Woman now that we are seeing, intermixed in with the warrior, intermixed with some funny moments, with the giant talking gorillas. It's just some great reading going on, but also looking to the future of what's going to happen to Wonder Woman just has me so pumped and excited. You got the Spartans coming in. You got the Manazon or Olympian or whatever you're going to call this, dude. You have just some really cool...
It's called the Rise of the Olympian, isn't that
right,
the name of the
I think so.
Yeah.
you got these really cool stuff to look forward to in Wonder Woman title. How is she going to deal with these things? How is she going to, continue that with, as well as keep her secret identity? Is she going to lose the secret identity? Is she going to keep, it's like, what's going to happen? Plus, add on to it, everything we saw in Countdown with the, with Themyscira and the Amazons. Are they back? Are they going to rebuild? Will, Wonder Woman be a part of that? It's what will happen.
Well, we saw some form of rebuilding going on from Hippolyta. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm with you in the sense, though, that we've still got Amazons out there somewhere and what's going on with them, and I'll be curious to see if they come back in or how that comes about. My number one is Batman 675. Batman is a character, we talk on the show about Hawkman a lot, and some of it's tongue-in-cheek, but I really do love Hawkman as a character. He's a character that I always have, there's a character that is my kind of, cool character that I've enjoyed exploring. For a while there, it was Starman by James Robinson. When that whole series was out, it was Starman Happy. After Starman ended, there was a new character I needed to jump on, and, JSA started, and then out of JSA spun out Hawkman. And it was, at first it was Robinson and Johns that were doing Hawkman, and then it went into Gray and Palmiotti. And when that solo series hit, I really kind of explored that character in a way that just got me so totally glued to him that he's still resonated for me as a cool character I can't get enough of at the moment. So Ran Thanagar, I'm excited. But my guy that brought me into comics has always been, since my childhood, Batman. I've always been a Batman guy. I've read so much Batman in my life. It's a title I have never dropped. So I've always read the Bat books. Even when I've had to cut down on comics, I've always continued to read Batman. So, wow, I've been reading Batman probably for about 30 years. So it's a character that means a great deal to me, and I think it's probably why when we talk about All-Star Batman and Robin, I'm so passionate about Bruce Wayne and how I view Bruce Wayne, which makes for an interesting discussion anyway, because I'm kind of in that place. But I've enjoyed the solo titles outside of the Bat family and all that. When we've done Top Bullets, I don't always have a Batman book on my top 5 or even in the number 1 position because my expectations on what I want. I've read so many great Batman stories that for me it's got to be the top of, something that just blows me away. When I read 675, it's Grant Morrison and Tony Daniel have delivered in this build-up to Batman R.I.P. Dead-on moments with Tim and Dick in the beginning. A lot of it's like ditto to what we just talked about earlier. I love the interaction with these two in the most recent issues of Nightwing, and the relationship between the two carries over here. Jezebel Jet has the talk with Bruce that always seems to happen in his relationships. He is called on the table about his disappearing act, and things don't add up to her, and I liked these moments a great deal. Felt very real. She was questioning things. She wanted an explanation on the inconsistencies. This is cut short as the waiter is shot and Jezebel is being kidnapped. Bruce is forced to act and, seems to snap. This totally fits the torment he's been going through lately. I liked how the two sons noticed it as well. Dix makes some, really nice nods to some past storytelling that if you read those stories, it's like, yeah, I remember that. It's a great. I love when writers throw those in there. You don't need to know what he's talking about, but if you read them, it's kind of, yeah, you did your homework, or yeah, you've got a history with this character and you care, and I like those moments. The bat signal in the sky, it's all put together in a cliffhanger that leads right into the big 6-part story. Gorgeous art, fantastic dialogue. This is what Batman should be. And as a fan of this character, somebody who just my whole life has just loved this guy, this to me is, I'm geeking out for Batman R.I.P. This is the storyline that I am really excited about at the moment. So this is a top 5 for me that was very hard, and I know you and I both talked about it. Probably the hardest top 5 to put together, because everything that's in my top 5 I thought were just mind-blowing this month. There's a lot of that stuff that I put in the honorable mentions. They're there because I'm like, well, these are things I just really geeked out over. Another book, Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters. That came to an end this month. I really enjoyed that 8-issue miniseries from Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti. Jonah Hex is another book I'm continuing to enjoy. There's a lot of great reading across DC right now. If you don't agree with our list and there's books that you want to get out there with, please participate in Top Bullets. I'm loving the fact that there's some crossover between things that we're talking about, but there's also books in there that you guys are feeling are books that belong. And, Booster Gold's a book I'm enjoying just as well, but it didn't make my personal top 5, only because of how great the other titles were, but it's great to see that the listeners were throwing, like neither you or I had that in our top 5 list, but the listeners did.
Yeah.
And that tells you something, that's a book that people are enjoying right now, and that's great to have that on the show. So thank you to everyone who participated in that. This is my favorite segment that we do because of just kind of the interactive nature of the whole thing and just getting that out there. So, Jim, it's time to finish up Countdown.
Dun, dun, dun.
Jim, actually, before we even get into the introduction to our Countdown segment, I reread all 4 issues, 4 to 1, today because I wanted them fresh for the show. I wanted to kind of, especially after DC Zero, and after, if you haven't been to RagingBullets.com, Entertainment Weekly did a 5-page preview of Final Crisis. So I read that. So I reread everything after having read DC Zero and having read those 5 issues, just to kind of see what is my view of Countdown, kind of knowing where things go afterwards. And I'm not going to be spoiling a lot of that within here. It's more so that I will say that it changed some of my feelings on Countdown. If you remember last week, I was kind of ominous, and then like some of my feelings on it. I will say that I enjoyed a lot more this time around of these last 4 issues, and there's still some concerns that there's some things that I didn't like, and I'll just kind of say there's some things I didn't like how they went, but I will say that I enjoyed these 4 issues a great deal. But as we get to them, I'll talk about the things that actually will be, when we get into issue 4, there'll be some things that I'll be talking about.
Cool.
But let's,
Should be interesting.
Why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Our first review will be of Countdown to Final Crisis number 4. The writer is Paul Dini with Sean McKeever. Story consultant Keith Giffen. Pencils by Jamal Eigel. Inks by Keith Champagne. Colors Tom Chu. Letterer Travis Lanham. Cover by Andy Kubert with Edgar Delgado. Assistant editor Elizabeth Gerlin. And editor Mike Carlin. Okay, I gotta first start off. Normally, I'm not a big fan of spoilers on the covers. I've complained about it before, going, oh man. With this one, I actually didn't have too much of an issue with it because it was so cool. We see on the neat cover, we see Mary Marvel's white shirt with the black bolt slowly shifting over to the black shirt with the gold bolt. And when I saw that on the cover, I was like, oh, this is going to be good. And as I say, normally spoilers on covers annoy me. This one didn't for some reason, just because of what happens. The issue opens up with all of the team.
Can I say something about art real quick, too? First of all, I totally agree with what you're saying about the cover. But one of the things, Jamal Eigel did the artwork on this, and I'm a fan of Jamal Eigel's. I actually asked him way back before we were doing this show, I asked him to do a sketch for me of Firestorm. Because or it may have been slightly after we started the show, I don't know. It was at the Pittsburgh Comic-Con. Jamal had a table set up there. So it might have been just right after you and I got started. And Jamal did this wonderful inked sketch of his Firestorm. And so I geek out when I get to see him draw that character again, because it was my introduction to his work. And I always enjoyed that solo series with Jason Rush. So it's always neat to see him come back and kind of have an opportunity to revisit a character that, to me, I still have, it has an endearing quality to me. And it's a character I'm hoping we get to continue to see more of in the DC Universe. So the artwork is really, really nice in this issue.
Oh yeah, there's some spot-on stuff where I was just like, nice. You'd sit back as you're reading, go, okay, I'm just going to breathe this in. And I digged this opening part of the issue. What happened? It starts right in. They're standing on top of the globe on top of the Daily Planet. Jimmy had just boomed them back to their Earth, and they're all kind of huddled around. A couple of the Harrys look like they're falling off the edge there. They're trying to scramble to get them up to the top and that. And everybody's kind of wondering, okay, is this our Earth? Are we in the right place? And Jimmy Olsen stands up. He's like, hey, I know we're at the right place. I know my home. Last time it was, Midge who sent us, to that other place. This is my place. I know where we are. And everyone's like, oh, okay. But his confidence is kind of a little bit undermined when Forager goes, Olsen Bug, why are your fingers crossed behind your back? Did you injure yourself?
I'm geeking out as I see them on top of the Daily Planet building. Jim and I both play City of Heroes. And I still find myself in Atlas flying up to the top of that globe just
Yeah.
to stand on there just because you can.
Yeah.
And it is one of those things where it's very similar to the Daily Planet, and I could see myself if the DC Universe game does in fact get completed and is coming out. And I'm not saying that in such a way. It's one of those things where I haven't heard news in a while from it, so I always get a little worried because the Marvel one was canceled. But I'm hoping the DC MMO comes out because I would love to do this kind of stuff in the MMO. It's very cool in City of Heroes, though, to fly on top of landmarks and be able to just stand there and look out over the cityscape. And so it's something that I would love to see in a DC MMO as well.
Dude, the top of the Daily Planet globe is going to be a meeting point in that game if that ever gets made.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know it. Just because people are like, yeah, cool. Okay, eventually everyone finally agrees, yes, this is home, and they immediately start to split up. Firestorm heads home. He's like, hey, I've been away too long. He takes off. Holly and Harley say, hey, it's time for us. We got to head back to Gotham. But Harley just is Harley and has that, don't forget to write, kiddies. It's that, that's that classic Harley, attitude as she's leaving, just little friendly wave, and a grin on her face, which I'm digging about her. Then Jason. He sheds off the red hood, the Red Robin hood, and says he's done. Even when Donna calls him out on this, he says, this experience has taught him that cape and cowl game is for suckers. And I was like, I had kind of mixed feelings about this because I so wanted to see Red Robin, Nightwing, Batman all team together and be one giant happy Bat family. I wanted to see the redemption of Jason Todd, and I was like, oh man, come on, guys. But then I kind of also started looking at it some more, saying that a transition, they've been through some mega events. And a transition like this could happen, but would it be too neat and clean at the end of this event for him to become a good guy? Would it actually make sense for Red Hood to turn into Red Robin and be this hero? And I was like, then I started thinking, Red Hood is a really fun villain. And he will make a good addition to Secret Six. So I'm like, I think I can handle, Jason staying evil for a while.
You're thinking do you consider him a villain?
I don't know. He's one of those.
He's a question mark.
He's a question mark. That's why.
And do you consider him an A-list villain? Would be another question. I don't know.
Hey,
I think there's a lot of possibilities for that A-list spot right now. I'm very, very curious.
So it's an interesting thing. I don't know, but
I'm still thinking Catwoman.
You're still. I'm not thinking Catwoman. I'll be honest with you. Catwoman is not on my list. Of course, as I say that next week, I'll probably say, Catwoman would be a really good addition. But
I liked your Bane idea too.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of hedging my bets right now. Every so often, I'll throw out another A-list villain. That way, when it actually is one of them, I'll say, "See, I told you guys, I picked it."
And Scarecrow would be a quirky possibility as well. There's a couple of quirky, and she would love to do a quirky person as well. So, I don't know. Where this whole segment worked for me was like at first I'm like, do I like this? Do I like the way it's going about? And I started really thinking about this. And when I reread it again, one of the things that really, really hit me on this one was, especially after our discussion last week, was the tragic events on Earth 51. The fact that this happened to this Earth and they got to be there when the whole thing was decimated by this virus. And how that disease really just tore through not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. And they witnessed that, and they had to leave helpless and powerless. And to have been through that together, I don't know that I would want to be around any of those people after that. Because they're a constant reminder that you witnessed the death of an entire universe. Of people who were counterparts to friends, family.
And they're... Yeah, it's...
to see that. And wait, that's Jason's, that Batman that was there that he connected with on some level was part of that Earth. So, to go through all that, it would be a traumatic thing for Ray, for Jason, for Holly and Harley. Them splitting up and kind of going their own way. It's Donna, Kyle. They all went through that horrible thing together. Jimmy's got his own issues that he's dealing with. And even Firestorm. Firestorm's like, I'm bailing on this too. He's a very young guy, and having to go through all that and witness all that and be a part of that, they all felt powerless. And to be a hero, the payoff of being a hero is that you feel like you're doing some good. To sit there and watch this happen and not be able to do anything to prevent it has got to be demeaning and demoralizing. And I liked this opening much more when I read it this morning than I did the first couple times around. Because I'm like, wow, there's an impact here that I think hit me this time that it really didn't. So it's really funny. When we recorded last week's episode, my head was in a very different place on these issues, and I'm going to get to some points where I'm like, I'm not so happy or sure how I feel about all this right now, but there are a lot of moments in this where I isolated that particular segment that I didn't like and looked at the rest of the book, and there's moments that I really, really, really enjoyed in this issue. So we'll have to talk about it.
And I like when the team's splitting up, they're all planning what they're going to do. It is Jimmy who, like, hey, hello, still got the big dark side bullseye on my chest here. What are we going to do? And he brings the group back into focus that we can't just split up. We can't all just go away. We still have this major mega event going on. And
the Harrys even defend him on that, too, which I really liked.
You know, they're like, hey, we saved your bacon there, buddy. You got to do something about it. And the team decides, okay, we got to get to the JLA. And you got to love it when they're immediately thinking, okay, we got to, this event, a level of this type of magnitude, we got to go to the big guns. They're not thinking, hey, we can handle it ourselves. They're like, no, let's pull in the JLA on this. Let's pull in Soup. Let's pull in, Black Canary. Let's pull in Batman. Let's Wonder Woman. Let's get the full crew in. Let's get our A-team going on this. Let's see what we can do. And I like that. And then as they're going there, it's Mary Marvel has this moment. And this is actually one of those moments where I wish I didn't see what I saw on the cover. Because she goes up to Kyle and's like, hey, I'm desperate to find out what happened to the people on Paradise Island. I gotta go. Oh yeah, we understand, Mary. And I was thinking, like, wow, that's a really cool thing. That's showing the classic Mary Marvel is back. She's so worried about the Amazons that she's got to go and make sure they're okay. She's filling in, fixing up her past mistakes and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. And then also even when they first arrived on the globe, there's a great scene where she's like, she goes up to right. Adam. Hey, are you okay? Because he just went through some mega stuff where he blames himself for the death of that one whole universe. I was like, yeah, had I not seen what I saw on the cover, I would be thinking, okay, the old Mary Marvel is back. She's secure, strong in her role, and we're going to see some stuff with her. But then on the flip side, I'm like, when she's separating, I'm like, okay, I know what's going to happen. Yeah. Cool. Well, I didn't actually see what happened, but the end results I kind of predicted. But we'll get into that in about a minute or so.
I will admit, when I first read this, I was praying, hoping that the cover was red herring.
See, once I saw that cover, I never thought it was a red herring.
I guess because when they originally came crashing down, there was that separation of the power, and with Eclipso, and I was hoping that there was another player.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which I was thinking, I guess I was praying that there was another player is more what it was. I won't say I was entirely convinced there was another player, but there was a part of me that was hoping. I liked the bits with Holly and Harley here because of just what I said. With Earth 51 and what happened there, you're not superpowered, right? I would want to get away from them too.
Yeah, I'd want to get away as far as I can from these people because no good comes about it.
No. And they were doing quite well without him.
Yeah, it all actually, if you think about it, all stemmed from problems once they got to with when they're on Themyscira and the fake Athena's exposed. They're like, oh man, and just from then on, it just keeps getting worse and worse. And so now they're back on normal ground. They're going to go away and. I like how, as the duo becomes a trio for a little bit when Jason joins them. He's completely shed the Red Robin garb. He's back in the jeans and the black leather jacket. He's getting, the one final panel is him walking, arm over each of the ladies, shoulders, kind of like, yeah.
And he just ripped off a department store.
Yeah, he just ripped off the department store, and he's mooching money off of them for bus fare. So you gotta love Jason Todd. You gotta love the Red Hood. So.
And I'm totally convinced that the only reason why he's with him is because he wants the bus fare.
Yes. Oh, dude, there's no doubt. Well, he wants the bus fare, and I bet you he's thinking, maybe something can happen here.
Very Jason. Now we get into the segment I was really dreading.
Well, here's the thing. This is a segment where I first read it, I was like, huh? And then I reread it immediately, and I liked it. I really liked what happens.
Now, let me clarify that. The way that they set it up, and especially reading back in the previous issues, that there was like a build-up to this, like there were hints being dropped that the turn wasn't set in stone.
Yeah.
that we were still seeing little tidbits of Eclipso in there. I liked that. And I'm glad that it wasn't just a ba-bam, all of a sudden we still got that. And especially like you said,
Yeah.
wow, was that some leftover Eclipso or something? When did I get to be so selfish? I liked those bits. That worked for me. I should clarify, as I've said throughout our discussions, my hope was that Mary's story would lead to a redemption of Mary. We're heading down a path with her in these issues that we're going to talk about in there where I'm wondering how anybody could be redeemed from it.
Yeah,
Although Hal Jordan was redeemed from being Parallax,
and how many people did he kill as Parallax? So
Yeah,
so anybody can be redeemed. It's the old saying is every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. So there's
I really
a chance,
like her,
but it's going to be a tough road. And as I said, leading up to her turning back to Black Mary, we have this great inner dialogue because she first chastises herself for lying to everybody. She doesn't go to Themyscira. She goes back to her apartment because she needs some me time. And she immediately is justifying every single thing that could be possibly conceived as negative. I wasn't lying. I just need some me time. She's like, I can tell them I'm really sick of dealing with people. Whoa, where did that hostility come from? But must be some leftover Eclipso.
And you're skipping a really important part there but it's not like you could tell them you were just sick of everybody else's problem. It's this, she had to maintain this illusion of who she is based on who everybody thinks Mary is, which is kind of like really twisted. Because that's not Mary Marvel. Mary Marvel really is this nice girl. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, and as she's, just, talking to herself, she's like, I just needed some me time. Off camera, we see, is that what you call it? Flash over, and we have Darkseid just chilling in her living room. He's kind of got his heels crossed. He's sitting on her couch. I bet you before she got there, maybe he was flipping through a Cosmo magazine or something. I don't know. He's just maxing and relaxing
like he was at a dentist office.
Yeah, it just says, hey, just waiting for my appointment to get here. And I was like, whoa. I dig that Mary quickly Shazams up. She quickly gets in power. She's getting ready to fight. And Darkseid never once takes like an offensive position or defensive position because he knows, he's Darkseid. He knows there's not going to be a fight here. He's already won. He knows who Mary is, and I like that. He pulls up the little purple little ball which has her power, and she's like, in a way she starts to fight it. She's like, hey, I have my powers. The gods gave me my powers back, and Darkseid quickly counters. It's only a fraction of what you had before. They still don't trust you. And Mary continues, I'm not evil. That's evil. He's like, evil is a perception. It's evil is an abstract. It's a mere perception. It's what you do with the power, not what the power is. And these are all the arguments that Eclipso made to her before. And slowly you can see Mary just getting weaker. And he's like, did you feel evil when you had this power? She's like, what did you feel? I felt powerful. She felt, the energy. She felt the might and right of what was that power. And eventually, of course...
I can't recommend enough the Countdown to Mystery Eclipso backups. I don't know how far you've read of those, Jim. I've read all of them so far. And that story was one that really softened me to what's going on here. Because it was really a heavy explanation of what that Eclipso power is, what it did to heroes. We see a lot of it with, Plastic Man is used as an example of a character who's been kind of, first of all, a major member of the Justice League under Morrison. And we got to see really what that Eclipso power could do to somebody as far as corrupting them. He has a son, basically turned on everything that made him who he is. He turned his life back on his life of crime, and all of a sudden delved right back into it due to the teasing from Eclipso of a different life. And to see that done to a hero like Plastic Man showed me that, all right, they're really trying to broadcast this Eclipso power is really what is perverting and subversing who Mary is. And that's where I softened this. I told you, I was very, last week my head was in a very different place. I went back and reread Countdown to Mystery, reread these issues, and my head's in a very different place than it was a week ago. I was angry about this. I was very angry about this because I really, really have loved and you've heard me. I mean, my favorite story throughout this. I think for you it was Piper and Trickster. For me, this was my favorite story. I wanted her redeemed. And I'm not knocking the writing. I'm with you on the sense that the writing was very good in this and the dialogue and everything. I never had an issue with that. It just didn't make sense. I did read, and I don't know how true this is. I don't know if I read it or if somebody told me in New York that Morrison really wanted to use Black Mary somewhere in Final Crisis. And I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember where I heard that. If somebody has more information on that, as far as if that's true or if that was part of this, and I heard that they changed what they wanted to do. I think she was supposed to be redeemed. I might be wrong on that. I'm throwing that out there. But I did like how the issues leading up to this, there were elements where if you read them carefully, you can see that she never really 100% came back.
It's what she was she was white knuckles clean. She was white knuckle clean and sober. She wasn't, it's like with a drug addict. When you first start getting off the drugs, you're not taking it, so you say you're clean and sober, but you're not really. Because you got to deal with what makes you want to take the drugs, what makes you want to drink, what makes you want to do that stuff. And that's why it's the white knuckle, because you're always just at that grip, where you have your grip on your sobriety that you aren't really a sober person, and one taste will send you back over the edge. And that's what we had with this. We had, Darkseid sitting there. He's got the power in his hand, just waiting for it. Come on, take it. Just a little taste. It was classic. I was like, yes, I was digging it. Now, in a weird way, part of me was hoping, Darkseid would do the kung fu. When you can snatch the pebble from my hand. But kind of glad they didn't go with the joke.
Yeah, because Darkseid's such a jokester.
Hey, I know, a little levity, but...
Hey, and I'm Darkseid, and I'll be here all week long.
But it's...
Which isn't true.
Yeah. So, yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
Now, one of the cool things was, of course, when she takes the pebble, when she takes the power back, there's the thunderbolt, fawoom, and then the next page you see Hippolyta. She's standing there. It looks like they're rebuilding, Paradise Island. She's like, oh no, Mary, no. And you could tell Hippolyta sensed what just happened.
Now, are these Amazons or are these women that were the trainees for... See, to me, these were the trainees that Granny Goodness was using.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
From the Amazon women's shelters.
That's what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking Hippolyta has taken them in, saying, you know what? You've earned your right to stay here. I'm going to teach you the true ways of the Amazon. Now, the thing I notice in that image, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree, it looks like they're building up a wall. Before, Themyscira seemed really open to me with a lot of buildings here, building here. This looks like they're building up a wall. They're fortifying the island, is how I'm taking that. Now, it could just be me.
Now, do you look at this as the wall that was knocked down? Or do you look
I think it's a wall that they're building. Because I never really remember seeing a massive entrenched wall or a fortification. I think they're fortifying Themyscira. I think they're building up for something. Maybe Hippolyta knows what's coming. She knows something big's happening, but that's...
Or maybe because, the Amazons were spanked so recently, she's kind of... Hippolyta's no dummy.
Yeah.
And, Hippolyta's going to say, hey, if this just happened to us so recently and happened to the Amazons, especially, remember, the Amazons' place in the world, they're mistrusted. They're not trusted by the overall community. So you got to think Hippolyta's saying to herself, after all this, we want to make sure we're pretty well protected. After Amazon's attack, their political clout's shot.
And we head back to the Nexus, and we see Midge there, and Midge is kind of gloating that he ruined Darkseid's plan to use Morty on Earth. And, instead it went to, once again, Earth 51, which kind of, you gotta feel bad for that poor guy,
Nick Wotan?
Yeah, Nick Wotan. I feel bad for the guy because that's twice his world has been destroyed, twice basically because of Midge. So,
He's going to be an interesting player as all this goes on, though. Either in Final... I don't know if he's going to play out in Final Crisis or he's going to play out beyond it. I don't know what the status of these characters are going to be. It's really interesting, though, to see that he is not done playing chess.
No, the game isn't over, really, for him. And one of the scenes here, he kind of breathes on the window, fogs it up, and writes "to Earth." Did that appear in Death of the New Gods? I'm trying to remember if there was a scene where Clark saw that at the end of Death of the New Gods.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that, at least in my eyes, it meant that all of these, we've got Jimmy. I think he meant the players that are currently in play on Earth with Darkseid.
Mm-hmm.
They're all in one spot.
Okay, because I didn't know if that was him sending a message elsewhere that appeared in a different story.
No.
I couldn't remember from Death
I don't
of the New
remember that
Gods.
from Death of
Okay.
the New Gods.
Cool.
I might be wrong, but to me, that was implying that this is where the end game is going to take place, which we do see in Countdown.
This heads back to the remainder of the team. They're getting Jimmy to the Hall of Justice, and Adam is a little bit hesitant. This is a guy who not only has had major things happen to him, but he really did just up and disappear. He's got a lot of explanations to do as to not only what happened before all this craziness, what happened during this craziness. There's a lot of stuff he's got to answer to his friends and to the people that he trusts and respects and who, will they trust him back? And there's some, kind of issues to him. But it's Kyle who reminds him that, we got bigger fish to fry, dude. This is Darkseid, man. Darkseid. And, that little pep talk is all it took. And Ray's like, okay, yeah, we got to knuckle up. Let's do the thing. And just as they're getting ready to continue on, you get a shawoom as Black Mary flies through the group, even breaks up Kyle's energy platform.
Well, you know why? Because it broke his concentration because
Right.
he wasn't expecting
I know.
it.
That was
like
a cool thing. Yeah. It's... when she's standing there, everyone's all got that shocked look at her face, and she's like, Mary Marvel is back in black and better than ever. And, of course, Back in Black was going through my head. I even, popped it in. I was listening to it a little bit going, yeah, dun, dun, yeah, so I was, thrashing a little bit to it. But that was really a moment for me. I do like... as everybody knows, I do like Black Adam, and I do like Black Mary. So, for me, I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to see more of the villain Black Mary. I want to see more of her doing stuff and her just interacting as this. I want to see the confrontation between her and Freddy, her and Billy. I want to see all of this go on.
I want to see the eventual confrontation between her and Black Adam.
Yeah.
Which we kind of see, and we'll talk about that later. But, I want to see a battle between these two. I tell you, she really... in the action sequences I quite enjoyed. It's funny when you get an idea in your head, and I'm usually pretty good at, kind of trying to see where the writer's going and where the story's going. I had an idea in my head on what I wanted with Mary, and I kind of put blinders on, and I couldn't let that go. I wasn't letting myself kind of see what was really happening here and what the storytelling was like. I got to agree with this. Today, when I read it this morning, I really, really enjoyed this issue a lot more. I wanted Mary redeemed. And that's still, for me, something that I'm having a hard time with because I really wanted it in a bad way. Mm-hmm. But I did enjoy this issue. And there's two different elements there. It's like I enjoyed it, but... kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was a very enjoyable action sequence. So.
Yeah. Oh, dude, this is a great action sequence as we see some throwing down. Mary's there, of course, for Jimmy Olsen. That was, basically Darkseid, I'll give you this power if you do something for me. And that, of course, something was get me Jimmy Olsen. And, Forager quickly armors up, which you got to dig when, she's ready to rock and roll. But you know what? She is no match for Mary. Forager's tough. She's kicked some serious butt. Completely, respect the skills, but she's up against Black Mary.
I love the effect of this when Mary's not a problem and she's coming down to the earth and you see this kawoom and you see that kind of blur effect on her where you really see how fast she's coming in and what that all means. And this was really well drawn and colored and the visual effects on this looked really sharp.
Yeah. Oh, dude, and just a lot of the super speed moments are some really cool moments because throughout the fighting, one, Jimmy Olsen can't power up because Mary's not there to hurt him. Mary's not there to kill him. Mary's job is solely to grab him and take him to Darkseid, so he has no powers. He can't get into the mix. Donna kind of slows her down by throwing a car at her, which, again, you see that crunch.
He's so Connor McLeod with the Kurgan. And it is one of those things where it's like, somebody please attack me.
Attack me, kill me, fight me. Oh, I can't touch you.
Yeah.
It's a cool moment. And just like, Mary is taking out Donna and Kyle. She's like, bam, bam. That's two powerhouses. She's dealing with them quickly. She ends the fight in a really cool manner for me in that she's like, okay, I don't really need to beat all of you up. I just got to get Olsen. So she's shunk, does the hero give me, grant me speed, snatches Olsen and takes off. And I was just like, one, I was cool because she was using the Black Adam gods. She was accessing that power. So I'm like, okay, she's got the power of Black Adam again, and it's not just the costume. I was like really pumped about that because I'm thinking, if she's got the power of Black Adam, that means maybe Black Adam may get his power back. We may see Teth Adam return. I'm like, cool, which is always a good thing for me. But also, I do like the fact that she didn't just need to, I am evil, ha ha ha, I will beat you down. Even though she was doing a pretty good job of laying the smackdown on those two. She had a mission, she had a job to do, and she does it. Snatches, takes off. Now, of course,
one of the things before she does that, I really love the moments with Donna Troy, where Donna Troy throws the taxi cab at her. Just showing really that a different Donna Troy in the sense that she knows Mary can take it, and she knows that really the only way to buy time is to throw everything but the kitchen sink at her.
Yeah.
I really, really liked this.
Yeah, especially later issues, we're going to see a real major throwdown, which I was really glad, to see that actual fight where everyone just like, okay, gloves are off. You can take a punch, so I'm going to give you what I got. And you start seeing that in here, because at first they're trying to convince, Mary, hey, you fought this evil, fight it again. And she's like, I'm not evil, I'm determined. It's that nice little just, what Mary is, she is who she is. She's not controlled, she's not manipulated by anybody. She's her own woman. This is who she is. This is Black Mary. Hear her roar. The issue, of course, ends with the team saying, "Okay, we will track, we will find Jimmy," and it's a cool hoorah kind of moment, and I like that. And then we go right into a great another just back of the end, backup story. Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul. Dude, come on, they know who I'm talking about. Another one where it does bring you up to current date, and I do like the fact that they're going through this. They're showing...
This artwork is sharp as hell, too. It's the same artwork from the initial issues of Green Arrow, Black Canary, which is great because I really enjoyed that arc. I enjoy Mike Norton's art. It's great to just see this nice art flow in that book. But when I saw this, I'm like, woo, I'd love to see this as like a mini-series or something.
Yeah.
It's good Batman art.
Yeah, and I've had my ups and downs on these things, and I got to say that as a whole, I am up on these, and I hope they do produce these in a little trade where they have all these combined and all that stuff, because I will probably pick it up if they did it.
Well, I think it's good for people who maybe didn't read Countdown that were going to pick it up in trade format to be able to have access to those. So I'm hoping they're reprinted in the trades if they're not.
Yeah. I don't think they're reprinting. I thought they said they weren't going to reprint them in the trades.
Well, they did that with 52. I don't know if they're going to do it with this as well, or maybe they're going to put them all together in a trade, the 52 and these.
Right. I don't know. Our next issue will be Countdown to Final Crisis, number 3. The writer is Paul Dini with Sean McKeever. Story consultant Keith Giffen. Art by Freddie Williams II. Colors by Pete Pantazis. Letterer Ken Lopez. Cover by Adam Kubert with Edgar Delgado. Assistant editor Elizabeth Gerlin, and editor Mike Carlin.
This cover was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Nice Darkseid Superman duking it out, and you're just like, oh, yeah. When I saw the cover, I was like, we're going to have some cool moments in this one, especially the way the last one ended, with, Mary snatching up Jimmy. Who else is going to fly to Jimmy's rescue but his best friend, Superman? And I loved how this story went, how the little twist they had at the end of it. So I was like, yeah, this is some good stuff going on.
I liked it. We didn't talk about this last issue. I liked that there was a question during that whole battle between the challengers. Why hasn't the Justice League come out?
Yeah.
And it was really because they weren't there.
Yeah.
To come out. So it was interesting for that to be kind of brought out. And then all of a sudden, when they do get inside there, they encounter, of course, Red Arrow, and that kicks off the whole thing. Nobody's in there, so...
Yeah, and I liked how when they first get there, they're trying to bring Red Arrow up to speed. They're explaining him what's going on, but dude, this is 52 weeks of stuff to talk about.
Sure.
How do you just throw it out there? Oh yeah, well Ray's missing. Well, Ray's been missing. No, we found him. Now he's missing again. And then then Mary came in. Mary Marvel. Wait, no, Mary's turned evil. Mary turned evil, and it's just all this type of explanations going. And you could see it getting confusing. There's a lot of stuff to cover a very short period of time. Add to it the fact that time is of the essence, and it's Donna who just lays it on the line. Forget about everything else. It's Jimmy. Jimmy Olsen is the key. And, nice right from there, nice segue right back to Darkseid. He's got Olsen at his feet. And you gotta love it when Olsen just tries to act tough. He's like, I'm not afraid of you. I have my powers. Like Darkseid's, yeah, you do. But only when I want you to have them. And once again, just great stuff of Darkseid. Just this master manipulator, the master chess player who has Jimmy Olsen right where he wants him. Victory is in his grasp. He's about to win the game. It's time, checkmate. Everything is laid out exactly how he wants it. But there, of course, are little problems along the way.
Now, Mary here's the part where it's kind of like at this point. Mary convinces that she's not evil. This is the part where Darkseid tears open your ribcage and beats the living hell out of your vital organs. I mean...
Well, that makes sense, yeah. It's not evil.
Stand by and watch that.
Well, hey, you know what? Dude, that's semantics. Come on, she's not evil, really. She's just determined. But yeah, I do have to admit when I first read it, that was a little bit of a grr moment for me. I kind of did want to see Mary not so much cross over the evil line, but the farther evil she kept crossing, for me, it was like, the person it's the alcoholic who hasn't had a drink, in 3 days, takes their first sip of beer, then next thing you know, they're slugging down, shot after shot, doing lines of coke. So
she's
it's
drunk with power.
Yeah, but it escalates. It goes really quickly. It's boom, explosion of just where I am.
Now, do you still believe it's the Eclipso power too?
See, part of me says no. Part of me says Mary has turned.
Darkseid was teasing her with that power.
It's that purple power. So I'm like, part of me's like, it's partially Black Adam, it's partially Eclipso, it's partially Mary who's crossed over the line.
And it was a tiny portion of Eclipso's power, which Darkseid is a god.
Yeah.
And that's what it's showing there. Darkseid's a god. He has access to that. I guess
Well, they determined that the Eclipso power was created by Darkseid.
Sure.
So he would naturally have
corruption
control
and perversion of her is coming from Darkseid. Is that what you're reading?
Yes and no. I'm seeing it more as she's embraced it into her. It's in her now. It's part of her.
But Darkseid played her, right? That's the whole chessboard, right?
Well, Darkseid manipulated.
He played her. He played Jimmy. He played.
Okay, the way I see it is Darkseid manipulated her. Yes, he used the power to manipulate, but in the end, it is her who is making these conscious thoughts. She's been corrupted by an outside influence, but she is still making the decisions. She is, she's drunk with the power. It's such a rush for her to do these things. About it.
Okay, do you read it like, and I guess I'm reading it like red kryptonite affects Superman.
I'm not reading it like that. Reading it like...
I disagree with you immensely.
Okay.
I'm reading it as the Eclipso power is perverting her the way that red kryptonite does Superman. And that to me is...
See, I'm reading it more like...
Because he had the Eclipso power, and she could feel that power. The more that she was in her apartment, the more that she could feel that power having an effect on her. You could see it glowing and emanating in his hands when he was sitting there on the couch. And I guess I'm reading it a lot more... Because, to me, otherwise, what was the point of the Countdown to Mystery backup with Eclipso if you're not going to... They laid all that power out there and explained it.
See, I don't see... There's not a direct conscious manipulation going on by Darkseid.
Then what's the point of the whole chessboard?
He put the pieces in play. It's the power is made. I think it's kind of like you have one too many drinks too much, at night. You wake up next to a complete total stranger. Like, what did I do last night?
Why wouldn't you put Superman in play there then?
Because it's about the willpower. He would be able to fight it. He would be able to fight that influence.
But that's what But then you're contradicting.
No, let me.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me lay it out.
Understand it. Yeah. I'm not like.
I know. Okay, it's the analogy. I think for me that makes it understand it is you go out drinking, you have a couple of drinks, you do something. You pick up somebody, you do something you normally wouldn't do.
Okay.
That's Mary. she's drunk with the power. She's been influenced, and then after that next night, you got two choices. You either go, "Oops, this wasn't me," or "It'll never happen again," or two, you say, "Hey, that was kind of fun. I want to do it again." Clark is the type of person who maybe if you use you slip him a Mickey, he'll do something, but the very next moment, the second he's clear thought, he won't go back to it. Mary has felt the rush. She's felt the power. She's been corrupted by the power. So yes, there is some outside manipulation, but it's not purely like mind control taking her over like Red Kryptonite does to Superman. This is, she's tasted the other side and she likes it. And she's going to keep doing it as long as she keeps liking it. She's got to address what makes her the addict. She's got to address what makes her like that dark power.
It's her desires, then.
It's her desires. It's her abandonment, her wants, and stuff like that. And Eclipso power
feeds
we'll talk
more about that when we hit the epilogue.
Right.
It actually does. You have a point there that it's those wants, those desires. It's actually, and we'll see with Teth Adam, that he finds that distasteful at that point. So it's interesting. I guess part of me is hoping on some level that Eclipso's still in this, but I'm seeing your point too. I guess I wanted to see how you were seeing it, just to kind of see. I'm like, can I follow the rationalization? I can see that possibility. I guess I was, and a part of me still is thinking along the Red Kryptonite lines that this is more Eclipso's power. I'm going to be curious to see how this plays out, because we don't see this play out completely in Countdown. At least I don't think we do.
Not really.
Don't you think there's more to this story?
Dude, there's so much more coming back from this.
Okay.
This story isn't done yet.
I will be sorely disappointed if this is done here.
Yeah, I don't know when we're going to see it again.
Okay.
Maybe we'll see it in Final Crisis. Maybe we'll see it in one of the other tie-ins. I don't know. But there's no way this story is done.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for the explanation, actually. Because I wanted to see how you were saying. I'm like, well, it felt to me like you were contradicting yourself, but that makes perfect sense now.
See?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I totally agree with you, but it's like anything. It's speculation because we haven't seen this story play out, so it's kind of hard to tell what exactly is right in this.
I know. We're still learning, and we're going to find out. But
you've thrown another possibility into the mix for me, which I like. So, okay. This 2-page spread, dude, with Superman, you could really use a better role model. Do I like this?
Yeah, and that was just, for me, was a classic moment. As Mary gets done with her rant, she's like, "Mary, I'm disappointed to hear such words from you." Correct! One punch on Darkseid. Darkseid goes flying. The thing I like is, look at the picture of Darkseid, dude. Yeah. There's little springs of blood coming out the mouth. He made Darkseid bleed.
Right.
You gotta love Soup for that, He's taking the gloves off. This is time to throw down. Soup knows I can hit him with every single thing I have in me and not kill him. So he's going to. And that was what
I like Freddy's Superman. I remember when the Blue Beetle issue where he did the fill-in, where Blue Beetle was kind of flying behind Superman, and Superman looked really like godlike's not the right word, but like a top tier, you look up to him kind of hero, that type of thing. I like that drawing of him where you believe that he's just something a little bit more.
Yeah, and he is something more. And we saw in Death of the New Gods, Superman knows he's not the top of the food chain. He knows that the new gods are powerful. He knows that they could take him probably. And I like that realization he had in Death of New Gods. But here we see he's not going to lay down.
Well, and I also see what I like here is this is an emotional reaction to what he saw go on in Death of the New Gods, what he saw Darkseid be a part of. He saw friends of his, people who he was associating with, something that he was trying to stop morally. He believes in preventing death. He believes in saving lives. He believes in that in his deep-rooted moral code that what happened was morally wrong. And for him, that was disgusting. He's disgusted by it, and it for him, very distasteful. Very, he's angry. He is angry because this goes against who he is as a person. The dark side that he's looking at right now, to him, is the antithesis of everything he stands for. And that's why he's standing here making this stand right now. And it's even more powerful, you're right, seeing what he saw in Death of the New Gods, knowing that how he fits in the scheme of things to feel that small like he did in that, but yet still to step up here, knowing that he could very well die in this battle.
And you gotta love Clark. He's just like, after all you did, it's well past time. I put you down. And he's got the red eyes going. He's got that scowl on his face. You're seeing a pumped up, ready to open up a can of whoop-ass Superman. And I was just like, hoorah! I was like, throughout this fight, I kept going back and rereading it just because I loved seeing this. When I saw the cover, the two of the fighting, I was anticipating some really epic battle, and we're getting it here.
Well, Darkseid committed genocide on a race. He was trying to kill now his friend Jimmy as well. He knows that. At this point, he's saying to himself, if I don't stop him here, he is going to destroy everything to get what he wants. And that's interesting. It's like he's stepping up against Doomsday all over again.
And also, throughout this, some cool Darkseid fighting, we do also have Black Mary throwing down with Forager. Because Forager's like, hey, you want him, you're going to have to go through me. And she's like, standing up, trying to stand up to Mary. But, once again, this is just a heavy action, comic that, I tell you, not only is the art spectacular, coloring was spectacular, just so much bright reds, and there was just some cool action sequence when we're seeing
and shading too on Superman's cape and everything. This just really, really was a good-looking issue as well. I've got to say, consistently, the second half of Countdown, I enjoyed the first half of Countdown, and we talked about it on the show, but I will say I geeked out even more about the art in the second half. I don't know if it's because the storytelling kicked up or what was going on. Especially, the whole thing seemed to really kick off when that monitor, there was that issue with all the monitors, where, it was kind of like everything was kind of laid out. And it just seemed all of a sudden that everything kicked up a notch across the board in this whole thing.
Yeah, and you have that great panel with Darkseid. You dare lay your hands on Darkseid? Yeah, I dare. And it's just like their two are standing there. That's another poster I'd like to have.
Oh, yeah.
Those two just face off. It's, Superman versus Darkseid, face off, one-on-one.
You know how I am about facial expressions. Superman's face says it all. He didn't need to say anything in the next panel, so he did, and I liked the dialogue. But I'm just saying, when you see these two facing off, you could take out everything right here. Take out Darkseid's words and everything. You know he is really, really ticked at Superman. You know Superman's really, really ticked. You know these two are going to go at each other, no holds barred, with every single thing that they've got.
Hey, some of those things, you see the blood on Superman's hands. You see blood coming out of his ears. I was just like, oh, man, this is, one of those epic, truly battles between these two. I was just like really excited.
Again, showing the hero, though, because this is Superman going up against an opponent who could kill him. This is very, very similar to what he went through at Doomsday, and I really like these moments. And you know what? It's true that you don't have to depower a character. And I think it was Gail Simone who said it, that you don't have to depower Superman in order to write good Superman stories, when she was talking about her action run. And I got to say, this is a great example of that. You don't have to. You put him up against a villain like this, and you see him step up to the plate. You see the man that he is. You see the integrity here. We saw it in the Legion issues when he had no powers. You can see it here when he has powers. I think it's good writers can get to the root of this character, and this is really good Superman writing right here.
Oh, God, yeah. And as we said, as this is going on, there's this great fight sequence going on between, Forager and Black Mary. As she's trying to get her hands on Forager, and Forager's doing the stick and move, which you got to do if you're up against some mega powerhouse. But as we say, it's she is outgunned, and Black Mary is going to get the best of her, and she does. She's like, okay, Olsen, just sit back, wait for Darkseid to get done so he can kill you. Cool? Not cool. Bam! In comes Donna Troy. And as we said before, the gloves are coming off in these fights. Donna knows Mary can take a punch. And so she's going to throw down with her with everything she's got. That was a full-on face plant that she did to Mary. There was no pulling the punches. There was no holding back. She doesn't need to, and so she's going to give it everything.
Blood, dude. She didn't even draw blood.
No.
You can see a little bit, I think, of what looks like blood splatter when she goes wonk. But, when you see Mary come back up, she's pretty okay. What I liked here is you always talk about backup. I liked how there was in the previous issue the reference to the Justice League, where are they? And you see them here. Because they knew they needed to bring in as many people as they could. So we see Vixen, we see Black Canary here. And this is a battle. This is a full-on battle.
As this continues, we see Clark just giving a Kryptonian-level butt-kicking, which I was pumped to see, but I liked how Darkseid ended the battle. He's like, okay, that's it. End of game now. He's had his little fun. You've amused me. You've done what you can. I'm going to end it now. He shoots out his Omega beams, and I'm thinking, okay, he's going to blast Clark with them. No. Clark was never the target. Jimmy was. And that's just a great bam blast of Jimmy Olsen. You're like, did he just kill Jimmy Olsen? Forager has that Jimmy, no kind of look on her face, but time to switch things around on you. Doesn't kill Jimmy, but activates one of his little backup plans, because it's Darkseid. He always has a contingency plan, so he came up with one, and Jimmy starts radiating kryptonite radiation. I was like, oh my god, that's beautiful. What better way than to have Superman's best pal be able to emit the thing that weakens and kills Superman?
What I really liked here, again, referring back to last issue, there was that moment where the Atom wasn't a part of the whole battle and what was going on, and there was a reference, did he, chicken out or something like that? I hope that didn't happen. It was Donna who said that. And it turns out Ray didn't chicken out. Ray does what Ray does best. He zips into stealth mode, and he tries to get to the root of the situation. He went inside Jimmy to see what's going on. He knew that they were after Jimmy, so he did what he does best, and let me make sure that I stick with Jimmy to see what I can do to help this situation from my power set. And he went inside, and he's at the root of discovering here that Jimmy's radiating kryptonite, and there's something he can do at this point, and he's going to try and do it to shut the thing down so that way Superman doesn't die.
Yeah, and I tell you, one of the things I digged about this whole sequence was they had that little humor thrown in there. As Ray is in there, he's like, you would think whoever built this thing inside Jimmy would have at least insulated so some minuscule superhero wouldn't have gotten fried when they activated the power. And I was just like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. It's that humor thrown in with this we got these massive action going on, that little humoristic moment. But he still is serious
which
throughout
is
the whole time.
very normal when you're under a pressure situation to sit there and try to crack a joke to keep yourself calm, because this would be very intense.
Dude, that would be a seriously, because I think about sometimes, the powers of the Atom and what he does, and as we said, how they didn't know where Ray went, and as soon as I read that, I knew he's in Jimmy. I knew he had to have done that because, that would make sense, and I like the fact that that's his first reaction. Like, okay, shrink down. He hopped inside Olsen's ear. He's running around inside Olsen's head, trying to figure out what's going on. It's the scientist. It's the analytical mind. He's got to figure out, it's not just about brawn punching, blowing things up. He's got to study it and know what's going on. And I like that. And I hope, and I'm really curious if that's what the Atom was like when Ray Palmer in the comic was. Because I know you said you didn't have a large background with it, right?
I've read lots of
You've
Ray
read a lot?
in Justice League of America.
Okay.
I'm talking about in his solo stories. I hadn't read, but I knew him from the Satellite era, from different eras like that. Ray and that end. This is Is this like Ray?
Yeah, is this Ray?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I'm wondering, is this Ray? Is this what he was like? Because that's a cool thing that's a cool type of character. That's a cool type of superhero. I could back that kind of guy. And
yeah. And he did. He was the one who always went down to the molecular level, and you always saw him zipping into areas. When the team was captured, Ray would be the one that had snuck into some little nook or cranny, and nobody knew where he was. And this was very much Ray. So I liked this.
Yeah.
I liked the reference to Geiger. Geiger became the CEO of Radio Shack, to that art style.
Right.
And, aliens. And I don't know how familiar you are with Geiger's work, but this totally fits that science fiction look. And it was kind of a neat little kind of geek out reference.
As Ray's trying to figure out what's going on, we get Darkseid just kind of gloating about his victory. As he's doing it, he's impressed with Mary. Just, she fights with such power, such vigor, such anger. When the fifth world dawns, I just might let her live. And I was like, this is definitely the whole megalomaniac, villain rant. I have just won. Time for me to gloat a little bit more and, put the final kick in there. And as this is going on, we're seeing a cool fight going on between Mary, Kyle, Donna, where she takes...
This is one of my favorite things. She swings the dude around. You want your boyfriend so badly? Whap. But then here's the part. Whap, whap, whap. She's using him like a club to beat Donna.
I know. I was just like... And as soon as I saw this, the first thought that popped in my head was, I know what girl fight is on the white chalkboard.
Okay.
It's round 2, Black Mary versus Donna Troy.
I think it's going to be Supergirl, Black Mirror. I've heard the rumors that Morrison wants Supergirl's supposed to play a big role in Final Crisis. I see it being Supergirl, Black Mirror.
Really, Supergirl? I don't know. I can't see Donna Troy letting this be the last fight between the two of them.
It depends on if Donna's busy or not at this point, but my understanding is that Supergirl's got a pretty big role in Final Crisis, and I see those two knuckling up.
Yeah.
And that actually is the fight I want to see.
Oh, yeah. I those two mega powerhouses going at it, that should be a good one. But
especially with the magic weakness.
yeah. But does magic... Because kryptonite affects her less than it does Clark, right?
Is it less?
I thought so because when I thought, and this is my understanding, when she came to Earth, she was in that, the ship was like bombarding her with light, with the solar energy the whole time she was there. So she's got some other strengths that Clark doesn't have. Like, she's faster than Clark. I thought she had, kryptonite didn't affect her as much. I thought magic didn't affect her as much. It still affects her. It's still her weakness, but I thought she could get around that. I'm not sure. I could be completely wrong.
I agree with you totally that she's stronger than Clark. I don't remember them, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. So that's what I always thought.
Yeah. As far as I know, I'm not sure if she has any kind of. I know she has those crystals that come out of her body and things like that, which we've seen in her own title, and in there's various interactions. But I don't remember her being less.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and
I don't know if you might be totally 100% right. I don't know.
Yeah, see, I don't know.
I was just trying to look it up on the net and see if I could find anything, and I couldn't. But if anybody knows, send us some email or pop something in the forum for episode 115, just to continue that discussion for anybody else who is interested in that.
Okay. Well, we get back to Ray. We get back to Ray, and he finds, he thinks he found the source of the problem within Jimmy, and he's trying to figure it out, and he can't figure it out, and he goes, well, I'll just go Gardner's Law. When in doubt, break things. And now, he's talking Guy Gardner, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had the right, Gardner he's talking about, because I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I figured they were in the JLA together, and just his interaction with Guy, and I'm like, that fits the character so much. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And then as soon as he starts breaking things, we see there is a reaction from Olsen, but also, Darkseid put little defenses inside Jimmy to prevent something like this from happening as these bug-type creatures start to swarm him. And Ray's like, okay, they're attacking me. That means I probably did the right thing. I just hope it wasn't too little, too late, as he gets smothered by these bugs. And I digged that heroic sacrifice that, Ray is willing to do. He's like, I gotta do this. And you see, them covering over him. You figure, I didn't think he was dead, but it's kind of like that whole... It was the hero moment. He was sacrificing himself,
but he didn't know if he was going to live.
Right. I like that. Outside, we see that Jimmy is now completely free of Darkseid influence. He's no longer radiating the radiation. He's no longer under, Darkseid's control, and he's just a wee bit miffed at Darkseid, and he calls him out, and it's not only just calling him out, he grows to this epic proportion, and he becomes this massive, kind of giant, green, scaly type lizard thingy I was just like, ooh, this should be kind of interesting.
Well, he did have, there was a turtle power that he had at some point in the Amazing Transformations of Jimmy Olsen. That's a wonderful trade paperback too. If anybody wants to see just storytelling from the past of Jimmy and his transformations, I know it was a turtle creature or something.
Something I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was. I'd have to go back and reread this story again because it's been way back in the early parts of Countdown that I actually read that. But there was something where he took on the form of a turtle creature, and that was what the deal was. And I think that's what some of the scales are from.
Mm-hmm. And the backup story is Amazo. And one of the things that I like, the fact that they're making the Amazo fight, in the early origins, which was an old story from the JLA. They're making it continuity. They're making it part of the JLA history. And I like the fact that they didn't drop that. Or did they retell that in a recent...
No. Remember, as of when the 52 Earths were brought because of Infinite Crisis,
right?
Things were brought back into continuity from the Silver Age.
Okay.
The Silver Age is all back in continuity now.
Okay. Yeah. I see. I'm never sure what is continuity and what's not. So when I saw that the Silver Age story was continuity, I was like, okay, that's cool. I like that.
Any of the revamps that they did outside of that are basically the Silver Age stuff is considered continuity for the Justice League at least. I know that they've got to do the Superman origin, so we'll see what that looks like, but.
Our next issue will be Countdown the Final Crisis, number 2. The writer is Paul Dini with Sean McKeever. Story consultant Keith Giffen. Art by Scott Collins. Color, Tom Chu. Letterer, Travis Lanham. Cover by Adam Kubert with Edgar Delgado. Assistant editor, Elizabeth Gerlin. And editor, Mike Carlin. Continue on right from the where things left off. You have the cover of the giant lizard Jimmy fighting Darkseid. It was just like, okay, a natural segue. And I liked how this issue opens up, though, not with just this massive fight scene. It's showing the reaction to it. It's a news broadcast where they're live in downtown Metropolis trying to figure out this mayhem, chaos going on. They show the flash reel coming in. Can't talk right now. Gotta save people's lives. Bye. It's a lot of just realistic kind of real world action going on. This is a populated city that there's this massive fight going on,
and you've got two King Kongs going at it.
Yeah, and their National Guard is trying to evacuate people. Police, Fire are trying to. Police and fire are trying to react to the situation.
He does look like Godzilla.
Yes, he does. I'm just waiting for him to kind of sound.
I'm waiting for Godzuki. Godzilla.
Hold on.
And Godzuki.
Up from the depths, 50 stories high. I don't remember the breathing fire. Godzilla, I think, or something
and
like
Godzuki.
that. Okay.
Yeah. Darkseid equals death.
Yeah. And I got to give Jimmy props. He is throwing down. He is holding his own with Darkseid. He's putting into it, man.
Well, he's got all the powers of the new gods in there.
Yeah,
and this makes this quite a battle.
And he's not holding back. There's a scene where he rips off a segment of a bridge and bashes Darkseid with it. I was just really impressed that Olsen, as we said before with Superman, he took the gloves off. He's not pulling punches now, and it's naturally going to do some massive destruction facts. And I like the fact that you see them going into buildings, knocking over buildings. You're seeing the heroes react to this as, Kyle has his energy bubble saving all those people. Donna is carrying, looks like a section of the bridge,
right?
With a bunch of people on it. So they're reacting to this.
And all they're doing is basically saving people from the destruction, not knowing that they can't really get involved. One of the things I also liked here is the questions asked by Kyle, which was kind of asked about how could Darkseid pull a little piece of Eclipso out? And it's a good question. It's a really good question because what they're establishing here is that this is Darkseid. And Donna even says it. I don't know how you can be so surprised, Kyle. He's freaking Darkseid. They're trying to show here this is a god. And that, all bets are off. And it's, like I said, it's a good question because we've seen Darkseid in Superman, Batman. Batman was able to throw down with him. And this is basically reestablishing that this man is a god. And that you're playing with a different level here. Death of the New Gods established that he is a god. And you're going toe-to-toe with a god. So this really is kind of relabeling him as a god, is what he should be.
And I really, when I saw Darkseid grow to this massive proportions that Jimmy did, I didn't have a major issue with it because he's Darkseid. Because of
I've seen this before, though.
You have?
Oh,
see, I didn't know
way
that.
back in and I don't remember. It was when I was a kid. My first exposure to Darkseid was in a JSA JLA crossover, and he was huge at parts of it. It was it was another one where Darkseid all of a sudden came back, and I was so young at the time to remember the specifics of the story, but I remember the New Gods were in there, and I want to say it was JSA and JLA because I thought I remembered seeing Wildcat in there. I'm going back to my childhood at this point, but I remember in that crossover there was Darkseid, and Darkseid was very big, and it was very epic in scope and scale, the story. And I'm almost positive it was a JSA JLA crossover, digging back, but this was not, for me, this was kind of oh wow, this is the guy from my childhood. So my first exposure to this guy at that age was that.
As this fight's going on, we're seeing that Ray is searching through Jimmy. So Ray didn't die, which obviously we knew wasn't going to happen, but it's good to see that Ray is still kicking. But he's not just giving up. He's looking. He's still the scientist. He's looking to find the solution to this. And he kind of comes across the light at the end of the tunnel, which turns out to be, he's like, okay, that's got to be it. That's got to be the soul battery. That's got to be what the moment, what Darkseid's looking for. And right at that, goes back to the outside. Darkseid finally has, pretty much his moments. He's finally, Olsen's thrown down with him. He's given him a good fight. He's done what he can, but it is Darkseid. And he is going to take Jimmy Olsen, and he's got him, kind of hanging, one hand up, gives the great line, Jimmy Olsen must die, just about to do the death blow, and we see Ray pop out. I don't think so. And really cool moments. You see the little man isn't going to, hold down. He is, he figures out what he's got to do. And in his hand, he, of course, has the soul battery. He's like, you want it? Well, here, too bad. Crunch, as he crushes that soul battery and releases all the energy, the life essence and whatnot of the new gods, denying Darkseid his ultimate victory, which, for me, the issue could have ended right there. And I would have been happy, I would have been satisfied with, yes, this is the ending, the good guys win, chalk one up, Darkseid loses, sweet. But the story continues, because this is just really the beginning of the issue. I was like, dang, we still got more to go. What's going to happen next?
The Boom Tomb kicks off, and one of the great things, this takes place after issue 8 of Death of the New Gods, obviously, because at this point in time, this is Darkseid's endgame, and we see showing up Orion, which, was that a good-looking shot of Orion or what?
Oh, my God, dude. And I tell you, I am so glad they didn't spoil this on the cover. I'm glad the cover was Olsen versus Darkseid, not Orion versus Darkseid. Had it been, I would have been so miffed because, if you read Death of New Gods, you knew there was going to be a confrontation. You knew he was still kind of around. But the fact that, it comes out of nowhere and boom, in comes Orion. I was just like...
Scott Collins did a really nice job with this because this looked very Kirby.
And not only, you can't, it's not just Scott Collins. I'm got to throw props out to colorists.
Oh, yeah, sure, absolutely.
Oh, God,
the whole team.
Yeah, this was just, the colors just bam, pop. When you have these bright reds, you have these bright yellows, and just the accents on the shadows, and just, the concussion blows. When they're hitting with such force, it's not just, a simple punch. It's, affecting, rumble around the bodies, around the, the fighting and all that. It's just you could feel the punches. You can feel the blows. It's like when you're watching a good football game and somebody just racks somebody, going over the center of the receiver or something. You felt
an epic boxing match.
Yeah, boxing match. It's
a very Rocky Balboa.
Yeah,
Rocky movies when you see those epic fights in there. It's very cinematic. The power expenditure between the two, just through the coloring, is exactly what we're seeing here. Well, they're fighting they both of them know only one's walking away.
Yeah, this is it.
And maybe both of them are dying.
Yeah,
here that's Orion's convinced that he isn't necessarily walking away from here either.
Yeah, but he knows when it's over, Darkseid will be dead. Whether he's dead as well, he's taking Darkseid down with him. And we get some really cool moments between these two about the destiny of Orion, the destiny of Darkseid, what is going to happen. And a couple times, I was sitting there, I'm reading this. Orion kind of starts, the heroes want to move in to help. He's like, no, you stay out of this. This is our fight. This is my destiny to destroy him. And in a way, I was sitting there, I'm reading, I'm like, okay, dude, you kind of took your eyes off the prize there because you're in the middle of this massive fight and you're telling these people to back off. No, Darkseid takes advantage of it. He gets blasted in the back. And then Darkseid's standing on top of him saying, ha, I am Darkseid. And it was just these epic two massive creatures of power fighting. And
except Superman says it best. This is between father and son. This is between gods. And that there is something above that, and that this is a pivotal moment here.
Yeah, and once again, just great stuff between, because Darkseid is literally standing on Orion's face, just grinding it into the ground, figuring I won. But Orion's not done yet. Orion is like, here is your destiny, Father. Here is your fate. Orion is merciless. And bam, a continuation.
But you see it in his face. It's determination, it's relentlessness, it's defiance. It is sheer and utter defiance.
Yeah. And I like the fact that there's a couple moments when you actually see, Darkseid has the proud papa moments when Orion's like, even if I have to die to kill you, I will do so. And he's like, those are words truly worthy of anyone who I would call son. And it's, in a sick and twisted way, you see kind of like Darkseid, in a way, accepting who Orion is, accepting Orion, even though not, it's, you see that acceptance. But it kind of like, it
Still
feels...
never thinking, though, that his son's going to beat him.
Right, yeah. He never once enters his mind throughout this entire fight that he will lose, because Darkseid is always triumphant. Darkseid always wins. And as I was reading this, I'm like going, this is some cool stuff going on. And especially when they keep talking about the prophecy. Now, I don't know what the actual technical prophecy is, because I still haven't done enough Death of New Gods research.
Well,
but just from this
here.
issue,
Orion said it in this issue.
But he said it's basically that he's going to die by the fire pits or something like that
by the hand of his son, who was traded. There was an issue called The Pact, and it's a classic Kirby story where the sons were traded.
Yeah,
and that was the whole thing. Scott Free went over to, obviously, Apocalypse, and Orion went over to New Genesis with the gods, and the prophecy spun out of all those events that the long lost son would come back and he would be the one to take down his father, and that was the whole prophecy, and it was straight on through. It was I don't know where Kirby completely intended. There's a lot of that stuff that starts because you started getting.
Yeah.
All that stuff. A lot of that starts to play out again in the later issues of the Death of the New God. I mean, of the regular New God storytelling. Unfortunately, Kirby never had the opportunity to complete the way that he intended his vision. They kind of tied it up in later issues. They reprinted the series and in a prestige format, and then Kirby kind of got to put an ending on there, and then had a Hunger Dogs one-shot where it kind of wrapped it up too. But it was never completely... Kirby saw this being volumes and volumes and volumes that would eventually have this nice ending and be built over time. It was just one of those unfortunate things that Kirby's vision came about in an era where the comic sales started going down, and that included the New Gods due to pre-pricing of the comics. Mm-hmm. The comics were raised in price to a level where people were getting less, and his books fell victim to that, and he never got to really finish it the way that he wanted to. It's really, I highly recommend, and I'm not going to be able to do it justice here, I'm giving you a very quick summary, but in those Fourth World omnibuses, there's introductions, and Mark Evanier does the, and I'm probably butchering his last name, he was a apprentice of Kirby's, does the conclusions, the epilogues, basically his own thoughts on the whole thing and his experiences dealing with Kirby during this time. And he does a wonderful job of explaining throughout the era in each volume what was happening to the books during that time. And when you get into volume 3 and 4, you begin to see the seeds of change because of what was happening in comics at the time. And Kirby's books, unfortunately, didn't see the full impact and the full scale of what Kirby was really trying to do with them. It's too bad we couldn't go back in time and, see from a different Earth, the Earth where Kirby got to finish this the way he wanted to, because it was always cool, and like I said, the later volumes of it are just as cool as the earlier volumes, but unfortunately he didn't get to do what he really wanted to do at that point, and it's too bad, because it would have been interesting to see where this would have actually gone. But yes, the prophecy is something that had a legacy there.
One of the point I was going to make is I didn't have a long history with it, but I still was able to understand the gist behind it, so I could still enjoy what was about to happen. Mm-hmm. I could tell that it was going to be, the destiny was for Orion to kill him, and I
had to stop myself because I knew I was going to go into something. That's why I said I'm not doing it justice right now, because I'm like, I could go in for hours about this because I really enjoyed this New God stuff so much. And I knew you weren't really asking for that. That's why I'm looking at him like, all right, I'm going in a direction. He really wasn't asking for it.
I wasn't going that way, but hey, no, but I
was ready to start geeking out about it because I enjoyed these omnibuses so much that I was, and Death of the New Gods, the whole miniseries. This has been a wonderful New Gods experience throughout this whole thing. The end of the Fourth World was really, really well handled, and I really just enjoyed this whole journey. So you're hearing me geek out, and this is one of the reasons why people are saying, well, what did you like so much about Countdown? This is one of the major things I liked so much about Countdown, and the whole experience that surrounded it. A Death of the New Gods tie-in for me was something that I wish it had had a Countdown label, just because I think more people, I hope it did well. and I never looked at the numbers on it, but I'm hoping that people got to read this, and if they don't, I'm hoping they go and pick up the hardcover of this baby, because it was leading into this, that whole story and this whole thing just made this really just a big epic event, and I really, really enjoyed this. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay, no. Yeah, so as it, basically as this battle is finalizing, it's Darkseid's kind of teasing Orion. What's this talk about prophecy? I don't see your hellfires here, and the coolest scene probably, and the art in this scene alone is worth picking up this issue. If you did not buy this issue because you're not reading Countdown, I would tell you the artwork in this scene, in the next couple scenes coming up, would be worth paying the price of it, because Orion reaches into Darkseid's chest and says, "Your hellish heart is fire pit enough to fulfill the prophecy," and just rips out the chest of Darkseid. I was just like, oh my god! We talk about just the usage of colors, the shadowing, the artwork is just the amazing pop of the reds and oranges and just a whoosh kind of sound effects that are going on. This was just an absolutely stunning work of art right here.
Check and mate by a new piece on the chessboard that Darkseid did not expect.
No. It was cool because Darkseid's like, no, it was never supposed to be me. And he's just like shocked. And, ever so arrogant, this Darkseid, straight through to the end. Goodbye, Father. I was like, wow, that is is a monumental moment. This is the death of Darkseid. And for this to happen, it's like a big no of the energy releasing from him. And you're just like, I put down the book at that moment going, wow, this is like unbelievable. And even the heroes have that kind of wow reaction. The sky opens up, it starts raining, and it's just you can see it in their faces when you look at them going, whoa, what just happened? And Orion's standing there, and Kyle's like, hey, should we do something? Clark's like, no, it's done for him. And even Clark knows Orion's dead. Orion knows he's dead. He knows this is the end of it all. And you can just, he's hunched over, he's in the rain there, and just that look, that final look of it's over is on his face. I was just like, wow, this is a truly just epic ending. And I was just like, oh my god, And
it's funny, you see the rain and just how everything, now the tone has changed and everything, because you see Darkseid's rib cage just like, drifting away.
The smoldering, remains of his body.
Orion's helmet intermixed in. There came a time when the new gods died. And I've got to be honest with you, and it's one of the parts where I was, this should have been issue 1. This felt like a really good ending at this point. And when we talk about issue 1, it's not that issue 1 was bad, and we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get into it in a couple minutes, but to me, I'm like, especially reading those 5 pages of Final Crisis, this should have been issue 1.
Yeah, I know. I was just like shocked.
It's like ready, bam,
Yeah, I know. And that was the thing. When I got done reading this issue, this came out when
it's a great issue.
When we were going to New York. Okay. I read this in the Cleveland airport. Because I didn't, the comics came on Thursday.
Sure.
I didn't have a chance really to get everything going. So on Friday, when I went to the airport, I threw this in my bag because I had to read it. And I'm sitting in the Cleveland airport reading, and I put it down. And I go, holy, dropping a massive F-bomb right there. And I got people around me, what? I'm just like, and I was just stymied at that ending. And
I have 2 copies of this issue.
Yeah.
To tell you how much I wanted to see where the story was going from issue 3, I knew we were going to New York. Now, you left earlier than I did for New York, because you left early on Friday. I went to work on Friday, but I was packing Thursday night, very similar to what you were doing. So I went Wednesday and actually picked up this issue, because I'm like, I want to read this, and I know in New York it's going to come up in some capacity, so I might as well just read it and make sure, because I knew you and I would probably on some level talk about it, and we did. So I'm glad that we did this, but it was just kind of like, whoa. And then The Origin of Darkseid with the artwork by Ryan Sook and Scott Beatty doing the writing on this one. It's so appropriate, because it actually took a look at his whole life straight on through to what happened with Orion.
Yeah, I know.
So it was just a great, and essential storytelling. The Fourth World Omnibuses, Great Darkness Saga, the Legends miniseries, which was great. Cosmic Odyssey and Countdown. Just a really nice, all-encompassing look at him. This, to me, should have been the ending. I mean,
I know.
It felt like
I
it
know.
was very. It was like woo.
I know when when I got done reading it. First off, I said, "Holy, f," and then I was like, "How do you top that?" How? And I was just seriously, I was like, "Oh my god, what are they going to do next?" They just killed freaking Darkseid, man. Mm-hmm. What? I literally, I was sitting there, and I was just sitting in the airport in just disbelief, trying to figure out what the heck they were going to do, and it's. Well, there. Let's just get it.
Let's go ahead. And
I
mean, first of all, let's go ahead. As long as we're going right into issue 1 right now. Before you even do your intro, issue 1, like a lot of novels, they have a prologue, the story, and then an epilogue. This was a story that was told within 52 weeks. This is an epilogue issue. I will admit, the first time I read this, you and I even talked about this on the phone, which we rarely do. We don't usually talk about Countdown until you and I are going to do this because of the fact that we don't want to kind of tip each other as to what our thoughts are. But when I read this one the first time, I was kind of baffled because I'm kind of like, yeah, all right. I will say, reading it today, I enjoyed it a lot more. But the first time around when I read it through, it kind of like following that, I was very confused as to why some of this material. I'm not saying this material shouldn't have been included. But if there wouldn't have been a way to maybe include some of it earlier, and maybe some of it just kind of told elsewhere, I don't know. It is an epilogue, and that's what this whole issue is. So, I mean, and that's where we're at. But go ahead. I mean, let's go ahead and do the intro, and we'll go talk about this further, because I want to get your thoughts and where your head's at. And
Okay. Well, our final issue will be Countdown to Final Crisis #1. The writer is Paul Dini. Story consultant Keith Giffen. Pencils by Tom Derenick. Inker Wayne Faucher, colorist Pete Pantazis, letterer Swans, cover by Andy Kubert with Pete Carlson, assistant editor Elizabeth Gerlin, and editor Mike Carlin. I tell you, when I first read this, I literally put it down and said, huh? Mm-hmm. We had such just that massive events of 2 and massive events in 2. I was just like, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, what are they going to do? How are they going to top it? Then I was just like, what? And then I did a second read-through immediately. And after I did my second read-through, I was like, okay, this is a good story. This is a well-written story. There was some stuff where I geeked out over it. There was some stuff I was like, hoorah, moments in it. And I was just like, okay, this is a good story. But I still couldn't get my hands on it. And then, when I was doing the notes, something clicked in my head. The way I look at the Countdown story now, and I don't know if this is the way it's supposed to be intended, but this is the way I look at it. Countdown ended with issue 2. That was the climax of the story, the climax of all the building and everything that was done and whatnot. That was the ending. 1 is either the epilogue or it's a prologue to Final Crisis. Either way is how I look at this. And that, for me, once I did that, I was just like, cool. I really like that concept because I'm the guy who, when I go to a movie theater and I see a really cool movie, I'm like, what happens to the characters? I immediately want to know what happens. I want like that Animal House ending where they're flashing, Senator Blutowski and his wife, I want those little, even if it's during the credits, just something I have to read. This issue was that for me. This issue for me was this is what happens to your characters. Now you know the rest of the story. Here's what happens to them. Here's how they grow. Here's how they don't grow. Here's what happens. Did they change? Yeah, but it's not even just epilogue. It's also prologue to Final Crisis. It's a little bit of both. And once I saw that, I really liked this.
What are you seeing in this issue as prologue to Final Crisis? Because I guess I'm reading issue 2 as prologue to Final Crisis. What did you see in? Specifically, what threads did you see in this? I'm not knocking it.
Oh no,
I agree with you in that it's good epilogue material. I'm enjoying it. I guess
what happens.
I'm curious.
What happens with Midge? What happens with Ray, Donna, Kyle, and Forager? I see those directly big.
The Challengers aspect.
The Challengers aspect.
The stuff with Mary Marvel.
Yeah, Mary Marvel, big time. And even. Even in a way, I will say this, Jason. Jason,
for sure, the OMAC stuff.
Yeah, the OMAC stuff too. Yeah. So these are,
all right.
That's how I saw this. So it's, once I got into,
I got my head so wrapped around that it's an epilogue issue. I wanted to kind of see.
And it can even be considered an epilogue issue, but I also see it as
right about the duality. That's why I guess I kind of wanted to see it through your eyes and see what you were getting there. No, I agree with you.
Yeah. So once I saw that, I really liked this. I mean, I passionately like this ending, going, you know what? This is the way to end a story. You have the big boom. You give them that good ending that everybody wants.
Sure.
You have that final closing moment of the story, and then you say what happens afterwards.
Sure.
And, like, it doesn't leave you guessing. Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters kind of did that with their story, but they did it in the final issue where, like, that first half of that final issue was the big end of the epic battle. Then the end, you see what happens to the characters. And I like that about Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters, how they did that. And it's the same type of thing, except this one took a whole issue to say what happened. So I was like, yeah, this is kind of neat. I like this.
I will agree with you, though. My first instinct when I read it through was kind of like, huh?
Yeah.
And it's funny. Three little letters, and it just totally fits, I think, where both of us were at that point. You're right, though, after a couple more read-throughs of this and kind of really getting ahead on what they were doing here, especially with the Jimmy opening right here, I really, it was very real world to me.
Dude, man, I felt so bad for the guy because he had front row center to probably the greatest story of a lifetime. We're talking Pulitzer Prize material out the yin-yang for this story, and he can't tell anyone about it.
Right.
And
Nobody believed me. He'd be locked up.
Well, here's the thing. This is the only issue I did have with this. Is probably one of the only issues I had with this is that argument that Jimmy had, where he was like, no one would believe him. All it would take is for one thing: Superman to back him. If he got Superman to back him, saying everything that Jimmy Olsen said is true, no one would doubt it because it's Superman. What I would have rather
in this
seen
media nowadays.
Even in this
I totally
media,
disagree with you.
It's Superman.
People
dude.
would tear that apart. I don't care. Okay, give me somebody today in today's society who you believe would carry that kind of weight.
In today's society, no one does.
And do you think Superman would carry that kind of weight in today's society?
Yes.
Oh, I disagree
because
with you
it's
immensely.
Superman. I think
in
it's
the day
Superman.
and age,
Dude.
I'm sorry. With all the controversy and things like that people, I totally disagree with you. We've seen in his own book where he's been questioned.
But in the end, people may question him. But in the end, all he's got to do is just stand tall and firm and say, "No, this is true. I would not lie to you. I am Superman."
And
people
some
would
people
buy
would
that.
believe, and so you think universally everyone's going to buy into it?
Well, okay, there will be doubters. There will be skeptics.
And you don't think there's going to be people in the media who are going to say, wow, this is our great chance to cut this guy apart. He's talking complete and utter nonsense. And I'll take one other thing, too. Do you think Superman would want the general populace to know there are 52 other worlds?
That's my point. That's the angle I would have rather seen them go. I would have rather seen Jimmy saying, and I can't tell anybody about this because how would people react to superheroes knowing that more than two, multiple universes were destroyed by these mega superpower beings? That's the angle I would have rather seen them go, and not the no one would believe me angle. We can't cause a panic, and even have them say something like faith in the heroes is weak enough as currently. This would put people over the edge. This would cause a panic. This would cause a riot. Or even maybe have him say something like, I can't put Clark's secret at risk. Because we never get an answer. Does Jimmy still know that Clark is Superman?
Oh, wow.
I would have loved to see that, just a little quick sentence, that he still has the knowledge he had back then.
Maybe we're not supposed to know.
It may be. And maybe that's something that Final Crisis will answer. Maybe it'll be answered in Clark's book.
Right.
Who knows? But that's something
I would
that
like
have
to
been
see that addressed on some level, though. You're right. Just to tell you, though, from like the amazing transformations of Jimmy Olsen, when the powers went away, so did Jimmy's memory of those type of things that he got from the big head powers, which is the one. That's how he knew.
I kind of figured he probably didn't, but
that still was addressed within that storytelling, so that it hasn't been addressed here. Mm-hmm. So I would like to. I'm with you. I would like to see that. So I'm not saying that as an excuse. I'm saying that it was told within that storytelling, so I'm with you. I would like to see that at some point. I love the whole relationship ending because it was such a guy, and it's so true because we've all had those discussions.
Yeah, it goes from the cute little Olsen bug nickname to OB, then finally James. We have to have a talk.
Wait, I've had relationships where we've had that talk multiple times, where I've initiated it sometimes, and it's been initiated on me, and unfortunately, we never realized that the first time we had that talk, it should have been.
It should have died with the first time. But,
right, but I mean, I've had that in lots of relationships where on both sides of the fence, and it's so real world, very well written.
Yeah, I know. You feel bad for the guy. And one thing I was wondering is when Jimmy lost his powers, do you think maybe he lost his strut? Maybe he lost that, because Forager fell for Jimmy Olsen, man of confidence, man of power, man of thing, and he reverts back to who he was before. He's not the same guy that he was before. Did he maybe lose what he had?
And that's been explored in film before and things like that, where relationships are held together by intense situations. People tend to do very well because it's very intense, it's very exciting. You see people step up to the plate in a way that they normally won't. But then when you get back to the real world, what do you have in common? That commonality was before you went through this really intense situation, and because of that intensity, you two are brought together in a way, it's romantic, it's exciting, it's intense, it's scary, it's all those emotions rolled into one. And that brings you together, but then the real world isn't always, it isn't that exciting.
Yeah.
And what do they really have in common? She's a bug girl. He's a photographer.
Yeah, see, you feel bad for the guy, and I feel for him, but, and I'm glad that we don't just see the end of her and she just disappears.
Right.
That she's still going to be around for a while. And who knows, maybe there's a chance for Olsen Bug to, get his strut back and, maybe win the girl back. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see as time goes on. Next, we head over to Ray. And I feel really bad for this guy. He's getting settled back in.
Do you feel like Olsen Bug and Forager are like one of the great romances of our time or something?
It could be. It could be. It's Olsen Bug and Forager. The cute bug girl and the
Jimmy
buggy
over
guy.
his years has had a lot of flings.
Yeah.
And I look at Forager as a fling. I don't think we're going to see a revisit of this.
I don't know. I'm hoping, man. I want to see the two of them together just because I'm curious, if they ever had, kids, what the kids would look like. You think, what would
You're one of those guys that likes to see males pregnant and that type of thing because you just want to see what the baby's going to look like and all that stuff, aren't you?
No.
Creepy little alien babies and that type of thing like you...
I never want to see a male pregnant just because, because
okay.
that'd be too painful. I have utmost respects to all the moms out there for taking that,
okay.
And I'm glad they do that. But I am curious to see what would happen, if a Klingon and Vulcan had a kid.
Okay.
As
long as it's more sci-fi.
It's
okay.
I want to see that, the mixture of the two. A Kryptonian human baby. I want to see, would they have all of Clark's powers, or would they have just some of them? Would maybe, have increased invulnerability, but not as strong, but maybe could do something else? It's stuff like that. I want to see, twists and turns and, whatnot in genetics.
Ray Palmer.
Yes, Ray Palmer. The man's trying to get settled back in. He's back in the home where he and Jean were at, and all the tragedy, the glory, the fun.
And you thought males having babies was weird?
Well, I didn't say weird. I said I wouldn't want to see that.
Just such a bizarre discussion. It is a very geeky discussion.
Yes.
Vulcans and Klingons all having babies and all that. All right.
Okay.
Ray Palmer, you're right. He's back at his home and,
and
basically still dealing with the ghosts of Gene Loring and his relationship.
But not only that, add some more ghosts to it. Multiple worlds have been destroyed because of him.
Right.
He's seen, his worst nightmare happen. He's seen once again, Gene die. Well, he's seen Gene die. He's seen Ralph and Sue die again. It's all this type of just nasty stuff that's going on, and just as he's trying to figure out what's going on, you get the knock at the door.
But even before that, it's where does he fit into this world? He's looking back at the photo of the team that was in Identity Crisis, and just basically seeing the satellite league that he was a part of, and that was at one time so important to him, and just kind of like, what is my place now? The world's moved on, and he hasn't.
Yeah,
and that's really the gist of the whole thing. Where do I'm a square peg trying to fit into a round hole, and that's really the vibe I got here, and I really liked it. And you're right, this led to this knock on the door, which was
we see he opens the door, and it's Donna Troy, and I got to tell you, wow, that is just stunning drawing of Donna Troy. I was just like
Tom Derenick, which has been we've geeked out, and Wayne Faucher on the inks, and we've geeked out about this artwork multiple times in Countdown, and that's the way Donna's supposed to be, the hot girl next door that you just know is like everybody wants to date because she's a sweetheart. She can kick butt. She can hold her own.
Yeah.
She's intelligent. She's got everything. It's all one wound package. That
she's the complete package there. If you get the chance, you drop on one knee, marry her before she has a chance to realize that she is so way out of your league. It's, yes, this is just a wow moment. And I like, when she's there, she just comes in and she sees that same look. She sees that look of doubt and that questioning look in Ray's eye. She's like, that antsy, unfulfilled look in your eyes. I know that look, from my own, I know that look from my own mirror. And she has those same questions. She's also wondering, where do I fit into the universe?
Right.
They saw all this mega epic events, yet what now? Where do we go? What do we do? And even Ray, when she calls Ray on, it's like, what do we do now? Ray doesn't have an answer. He doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know. It's that nice, moment is going on in them.
I agree.
Takes us to probably
I told you.
One of my favorite moments. Yes.
I knew it.
Yep. One of my favorite moments in Countdown. Piper is alive. Outstanding. This was one of my outstanding woohoo moments that I had in the Cleveland airport, where I put it down like, yes, 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 pumping in my fist in the air as people looked at me like I was on drugs. I didn't care. Piper was alive. And as I said, we learn that people, through this experience, everybody either changes or maybe they stay the same. With Piper, we see he's a different person. He's learned from his mistakes. He's learned from it, and it's like, I've been given another chance, a chance to settle some unfinished business, this time on the side of angels.
And the question is, does he still know the anti-life equation?
I'm taking it as yes. I'm taking that's what survived him, because he was tapping into the anti-life equation without realizing it. That's why he was able to, control people's minds. It wasn't his music doing it. It was the anti-life equation in him. That's how I took that whole segment, and I see him being the Pied Piper as a good guy. And I'm curious to see where he's going to play out, what team he's going to be a part of, but we're going to see more of the Piper, and we're going to see him as a good guy. My guess is, if he's in Gotham, maybe Batman and the Outsiders, maybe in the Flash books, he looks up Wally saying, hey, I've turned over a new leaf. Maybe with everything with, we got Barry back. Maybe that's somehow like the Rogues are going to attack Barry and Piper will come in for the save.
Right.
We're going to see more of Piper. We're going to see him as a good guy. And
he's going to be in this Flash Rogues.
Oh, yeah. I was so looking forward to that. Yeah. I was just like, yes, he's back. Okay. Not everybody learned and grew from the experience, however.
Well, he did in his own special way.
Yeah. Jason Todd. I am 100% convinced now that Jason Todd is not going to be a good guy. He is definitely... He's still Red Hood. Maybe he's not going to call himself Red Hood anymore. Maybe he's going to call himself Jason. I don't know what he's going to do, but...
Well, or is he a vigilante? I mean, because he's got made man of the underworld, more like a Punisher-style vigilante where he's, taking it to extreme limits. Lay some knowledge on me, smart guy. What knowledge? What does he want to do with it? And that type of thing.
But the right before that, though, the line when he sees the bat symbol in the air, he's like, Bruce is still playing the faux hero. One step away from craziness like the other Batman. That other Batman's death didn't affect him. He sees that guy as just some crazy loon who shouldn't be doing what they're doing. Like, please, at the end of the last issue where he sheds off the Red Robin Hood saying this game is for losers. He's not a anti-hero. He's not the Punisher type. He is a villain. He is, basically going to torture that underworld thug for information on what's going on in the underworld because he wants to take it over. He wants to have his place in the sun. He's a bad guy, and I see him as, once again, coming back onto the scenes, probably in the Bat titles, maybe Robin titles, maybe Gotham Underground. I don't know where we're going to see Jason Todd, but we're going to see
him in Batman R.I.P., I'm convinced.
Oh, yeah. So there, the villain is still there, and once again, I was like, I grinned. I'm like, I like him as a villain. I do like him as a villain, so I'm like, okay, I'm all right with this. Granted, I still would have liked to see him be a hero, be a good guy, but he's Jason, so we know who he is.
Right.
Okay.
Midge.
Now we get to Midge, and I gotta let people know that if you do a Wikipedia search for the Monitors comics, you'll get a listing of the Monitors that are currently out there. There's a thing on Bob, there's a thing on who the Monitors are, and there's a thing on Solomon. Now, one of our wonderful listeners, decided to make a Wikipedia entry and edit the Wikipedia entry to refer to how we on the show have referred to Midge, referred to Solomon as Midge, and we'll continue to do so. And it's a really nice write-up. We're saying, co-hosts Sean Whalen and Jim Salem of the Raging Bullets podcast, have referred to him as Midge and have done so throughout their entire coverage. So, thank you.
You're going to give him a shout-out next week, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to give him a shout-out. I left the paper that had his name at home, so I can't say who it is, and I apologize immensely for it, but I had to say thank you. I sent you an email back just replying saying, dude, you rock. You really do rock. I read this. You saw your email. I cheered out loud. I sent, forward emails on to family members. I told my folks, look at it. Oh, it's cool. But
that
neat.
was really nice because, first of all, it's a nice fitting place for it because of the fact that, you're not ruining something. It's actually legit that we do that, and it fits into that context. It's we talk about at the beginning of the show, and it is genuine. When people take the time to throw us in appropriate places where you're letting people know about our show and that we're out there, not just on Wikipedia, anywhere on the net, whether it's a forum or something like that where you casually mention our show. It's little tiny things like that. Podcasting, not a lot of people know about podcasting. Anything you do to let people know that podcasts are out there and that we're talking comics, and that, if you're at a comic shop and you let somebody who's never listened to a podcast know, let them know what a podcast is. People don't know it's free. A lot of times when people hear iTunes, they assume that means they have to pay for something. iTunes is a free service, and people don't necessarily know that. You don't have to get podcasts just from iTunes, but you hear pods, you think iPod and all that stuff, and people think money, I've got to spend money. A lot of people don't realize you don't need to have an iPod or any MP3 player to listen to these shows. And so if you're letting people know that these things are out there, that's the best thing you can do, not just for us, for any podcast you listen to. Let people know that podcasts are out there. Let them know what podcasts are. These little tiny things that you do to point people in our direction, if you just get us one more listener doing that, that's somebody who just checks out our show and knows that not just that we're out there, but there's other opportunities out there if we're not their thing. You're helping podcast communities in general just to get some more listeners. A lot of viral campaigns need to go out there. You guys are our partners in this in so many ways, not just our show, every show you listen to. So please, that's the one way, if there's ever a way, people say, you should thank the podcast and things like that. We do this for fun, and we really appreciate you guys listening to us. The best thing you can ever do for any podcast out there, just in general, is just to, get the word out. Let people know about us, because that's probably we do this because people listen. And that's really, there's no other way about it. Jim and I are both, full-time, we got our own full-time careers. This isn't our career. This is fun. And this is our escape a lot of times for our career. Like, doing this right now, to me, this is Mother's Day right now, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And if you if you've got a mother out there who supported your comic hobby, thank them on behalf of us, because that's why you're listening to our show. But we're scrambling today to get out this episode on Mother's Day night. It's right now for us. It's 9:08 at Sunday night. And, we're scrambling to get this together for you guys because we know you listen, and that we know you're here, and you're waiting to hear the new episode of our show, and we appreciate that. But thank you for anybody who's gone out there and done that kind of thing. The Wikipedia thing I thought was just a geek out for me. So
thank you, and happy Mother's Day out there to all the moms out there, because I know we got a couple moms listening to us, and thank your mom, for having you. And
one of our moms on the show is going to be enjoying us for a Comic-Con episode coming up soon. We're going to be talking about the Emerald City Comic-Con. So
woohoo! We're back to Midge. Okay,
yeah, Midge.
Midge is back at the Source Wall, and it's kind of he's got gloating. He's gloating that he beat Darkseid. He's the last man standing. Darkseid won a lot of the battles, but in the end, the war was won by Midge, and I kind of like seeing.
It was really won by Orion, though. Do you really feel like Midge had something to do with Orion at that point?
Dude, man, it was Midge. It was all Midge.
Why, just because he's your name backwards?
Exactly, man. Yeah. But no, seriously. Yeah, I kind of laughed because Midge is like, yeah, I did that. Dude, you didn't do squat, man. This really... I don't know. Can you call it a Midge victory? Because Midge really didn't put the pieces in place. He just survived.
Right.
All of the monitors just survived except for Bob.
I think they all put elements into play, but I don't know. I don't see Midge having anything to do with Orion surviving.
Yeah. Now, I do like the fact, though, that in the end there, Midge is like, hey, I won because I'm patient, and I just sit back. His people are ostracizing him. The other monitors, they don't want him around because of everything he's done. But in his head, he knows that if he's just patient, if he just waits, he'll get another opportunity. And I like that he still sees himself in play.
Well, he's a weasel. He really is a little weasel. He's going to skulk in the background and watch all this stuff, and we do see it later.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We talk about it. But I love that he made a Dark Side hero clicks.
Yeah.
He left it on the source wall.
I want that hero clicks, man.
That'd be great. I want that too. The official source wall Dark Side hero click.
And they could actually make it look like the stone thing.
Yeah, how cool would that be?
Oh, dude, I'd jump on it.
Absolutely, it'd be like a convention exclusive somewhere. You can get your own like source wall hero clicks.
Okay, next we head back to Ray's house, and we see that Kyle now has joined the little conference. The little conference, and it's weird because when I saw Kyle sitting there, there was kind of like the crescendo of music in my head, like going, dun 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 dun. It was like the Dirty Dozen, the Magnificent Seven. Slowly, the group's getting back together. They're bringing the band back together. Something big is about to happen, and I liked having that feeling because they're sitting there just saying, talking to Ray, just trying to get him going, like, there's something more out there. We've experienced something that is significant. It started, we're regular people who just saw godlike beings just manipulate and destroy worlds. And we can't just sit back and do nothing. These are heroes. These are people of action. They see something that needs to be done, and they step up and do it. And
Where did his nose go?
What?
Kyle's.
It's right there in the mask.
Where?
It's right there.
Where?
Okay, you see how it kind of bridges up right by the eyes? That's his right there. It's his nose.
All right. I love this artwork. Don't get me wrong. I've enjoyed it, but I'm looking over there. He doesn't look like he has a nose.
Where the heck that come? I'm getting this great rant going about how these are heroes, men of action. They don't sit back and do nothing. They see something. They got to step up.
Well, I guess
you're like, where's his nose?
I geeked out at this artwork, and I really do enjoy this art. But I'm looking at Kyle's face right here, and I don't. First of all, I don't see a nose, and I'm not usually critical like that, but it's just the truth. I really don't see a nose there. But I'm also looking at this. He looks so odd sitting there in his costume.
Yeah.
And I know he's supposed to be that way, and and I appreciate that.
I will give you. I wish he would have been. He should have been in civilian clothes.
Yeah,
as well.
because
they all should have been sitting in civilian clothes. Because later, when we see them all in uniform, it would have been a bam moment. But
now, from the side view, I will correct myself. And the side view, when you see him in the next page, you can see from the side view more of a nose there. But in the picture that I was looking at, it's like from the front on view. In the bottom left-hand corner on the first page where we see him, where it says Kyle Rayner, in the first panel and the second panel where we see him, from the front-on view, he doesn't look like he has a nose. And I'm not saying it's necessarily the fault of Tom Derenick. It could be just the weird design of Kyle's mask. Because if you take a look at the front cover with Andy Kubert's art, in that mask, it doesn't look like he has a nose either.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah. So here's my question. Who's got his nose?
Well, actually, got your nose right here. Oh, God. The question I like better...
And what earth is it on?
The question I like better is the question Donna poses. Who monitors the monitors?
Yes.
I love that. That was just, it was like that capstone. It immediately raised like, no, not doing it. And you see that, there's that motion like, oh God, no, And as soon as she said it, I was just like, oh yeah, we're putting the band back together. We're going to see some more of the challengers. And I was just like, Final Crisis, we're going to see the challengers. I was like, that was, for me, was a cool moment.
It's interesting, too, because we got Donna now in the Titans. Kyle's in the Green Lantern Corps. So these are characters that are still active on Earth currently.
Okay, now we come to my favorite moment of this issue. as Mary Marvel flies out and we see Black Adam. But not only do we see Black Adam, we see Black Adam with his powers. I don't care how it happened. I don't care if he never really gave them up to Mary or if this is some continuity snafu. I don't care. I think Black Adam is there.
Oh, I agree.
Black Adam has his powers.
I agree. Now, hang on. Let me correct. This adds more weight to me that originally Mary was supposed to be good. Because I think this was supposed to be the epilogue, but it was supposed to be very different in that we had good Mary standing off with Black Adam. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't matter to me either. I mean, and I do want to apologize. I wasn't like really knocking the art back there. I really enjoyed it, but when I looked at those first two panels, I will say the only two panels I have any question on the art. It doesn't look like Kyle has a nose.
Go ahead. You can insult the man's work. I personally think it's wonderful.
I love the work. I mean, like we're seeing Black Adam here. He looks stellar. Those are the two panels where I will say.
Yeah, but and you gotta love just the way Adam deals with her. He's like, spoiled, willful child.
Right.
I have always done what I must, while you simply do what you want. You know. And as Adam turns his back to Mary,
he is disgusted with her here.
Oh God, yeah. And he turns his back to Mary, and Mary's like, "Hey, you don't turn your back to me. Blast someone." He's like, "I called you a child. You reacted like one. As I normally find beating children distasteful, I will ignore you. Farewell, Mary." And he simply just flies off. And I was just like, so perfect, because
and
this
the perfect
is Black
tantrum here too.
Yeah,
that's it. That's right. You better run. I'm Mary Marvel. I don't need you. I don't need anyone. And continues her tantrum. I'm Mary damn Marvel.
Right there. That for me, I love this sequencing because we're going to see more of Black Mary.
What bothers me though is I really don't like her. I'm at a point right now where this temper tantrum, I'm like, I really don't. Like Black Adam, there's a difference between the way I feel. Like, you're talking about how, and I mean, you and I might be in different places with her. Black Adam, as he's flying away, I'm like, yes, he's darn cool. I love the way he handled her. I'm like, hell yeah, go Adam, high five, crush her head, that type of thing. Whatever you got to do, I'm cool with that. But I like that he just kind of ignored her. That to me was, kind of the ultimate insult. You're not worth my time. You're not worth my effort.
Worthy. You're nothing.
I don't like her. I really don't like her. I want to see her get beat up in the worst way.
And that's part of the reason that I like her so much, because of that. Because I tell you, I'm sitting here and I'm saying how hoorah, this is awesome, but I agree with you. I want to see her just get, I normally do not condone violence to women, but I want to see something nasty happen to her, because she's so nasty.
But I want to see I'm hoping Girl Fight involves her, because I don't want to see, I'm with you in the sense, I don't want to see the male character beat her down.
Oh, God,
I want to see, I want to see a female, like, if this is in some way going to bump up Supergirl on some level, or, we're going to see something out of her step up in a way. I'm still, there's part of me that's holding out that we see a redemption of Mary Marvel, because I like her. I so wanted to see her redeemed. And this Mary, I don't like. I resent her, the same way Adam does. Like Adam kind of echoed my feeling. I'm kind of like, oh, the heck with you right now. It's a storyline I'm having trouble with. I'm not saying it was poorly written or anything like that. I just don't like where she wound up, and I'm hoping against hope. This is not the end of her story. I know Girl Fights has to be involving her, but I'm hoping that there's some plan for her. If it's not resolved in Final Crisis, that beyond Final Crisis, we see something out of her storyline.
And to be honest, I honestly think we're going to see the evil Black Mary for a while. Okay. I don't think we're going to. We may in the future get the redemption of Mary Marvel, maybe. But I think we're going to see her just develop on her own as a villain. I don't think we're going to see any more powerful villains manipulating her. That's been done. We're going to see her go out on her way doing what she wants.
Do you see her as a compelling bad guy villain or as an annoying evil villain?
I see she has the potential to be the compelling bad guy villain. And
there has to be some development of this character. Because right now the impression I'm left with her is annoying evil villain that I want to see get beat up because she's so annoying. And that's where I'm at right now with her.
And if you think about Superman Prime, when he first came in, he was a little bit of the whiny little wah, 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 and he's turned into that epic, awesome villain.
Yeah, that's a good That's a good fair comparison.
She's now in the beginning stage of that, and
she's the female Superman Prime,
right? She has that potential to be this great, awesome villain. Now, will she become it? I don't know.
Okay.
It depends on her usage of it. Maybe Girl Fight will smack some sense into her.
Jason Todd has this problem
Yeah.
too if he's not handled right.
Right. So I don't know. It's this. She's one of the things where I am excited to see what we're going to get.
Right.
But I am
Her
curious.
storytelling could be very cool. Her story, it depends on who handles her and what they have planned to do with her. She has to be carefully handled after this. I'm hoping there's a big plan. I have to believe there is. Because so far there seems to be a big plan for everything at the moment. I'm hoping that we see that because they're really playing with the marbles.
Yeah, who knows what they're going to do with them? Because this is a time where I really do wish they had a monthly Marvel title.
Oh, I'm with you.
Because this is something where they could flesh out Black Mary. They could flesh out Black Adam. They could do more with Freddy, more with Billy as Wizard Shazam. This is the time, really, to have and it could even be a Marvel title where it'll delve in all of them. Like one half is, the good, one half is evil. Or I don't know how. I
don't think it could be a Marvel title.
I think they could.
No.
Okay. Yeah, that would be a little problem calling it the Marvel title by DC. Yeah, that would be a little problem there.
There'd be a lot of money exchange, all kind of stuff. That was terrible.
Nice catch, though. Okay, this takes us to Buddy Blank.
Yeah.
And,
it really wasn't a nice catch. You're being very generous.
Well, you're number one.
Yeah,
you're number one, my friend.
I deserve that.
Okay.
Admittedly.
So we got Buddy Blank, and I'm taking this as our Earth Buddy Blank, not the Earth 51 Buddy Blank. Is that how you saw it, too?
That's the Earth 51 one. It's the same ones.
You sure?
Oh, yeah, this is Brother Eye from there. That's the way I'm taking it.
I was taking it.
They're in the Fallout shelter, too.
Right, and ours was in Bloodhaven, in the Fallout shelter. Remember? When everybody got boomed to Apocalypse, the grandson and Buddy remained in that Fallout shelter in Bloodhaven.
Protecting us from anything this toxic environment. So you think this is Bloodhaven?
I think it's Bloodhaven, but that's why I don't know if it's Bloodhaven or if it's the other.
I guess you'd say you're ready to head home.
Yeah, because the other, and this one also, you think about it, because one of the cool things here is they're running out of food, and Buddy's not eating any of the food. He's giving it all to the grandson, giving him a chance to be rescued.
Okay.
The other Earth didn't have anyone that would rescue him. Plus, they also made the comment that it was like years of food at that thing. So I took this as our Earth Buddy, so that even adds to more.
I guess I didn't make that. Yeah. But the more you're explaining it now, the more I'm seeing it. No, I think you're right.
Yeah. And once again, as I said, it's cool because
wouldn't they have designated that it was a different Earth?
Right, if it had been
in the artwork. I don't know. Yeah, because they've been doing that when they shift between Earths. He looks cool.
Yeah, and once again, they're dying. They're trapped in there. Buddy is being, the grandfather. This is something any grandparent, any parent would do. He's passing on the food, saying, "Oh, don't worry, I'm fine. I could go to lose a couple pounds." And the whole time thinking, "I got to give my grandson more time. Maybe he'll be able to survive. Maybe he'll be able to rescue it." And out of nowhere, we get the rescue in from Brother Eye, and supercharges Buddy, and he turns into the new version of the OMAC project, one with limited self-control.
Well, and it's a flashback to the original OMAC.
Right.
Which is really great. This page with the Thoom and just the whole artwork there is beautiful.
Yeah, he busts out of
the Mohawk is cool again.
Yes. The big blue Mohawk, that looks cool.
That is very cool. I mean, his whole presentation is very, very stunning.
And I do like the fact that Buddy is still a little bit questionable, though. Even though, Brother Eye did free them, Brother Eye got him out of the jam, he still's wondering, what's going to happen when he calls upon me again? Yeah. Where is this going to go?
And am I going to have control?
Yeah. Back to Ray's house, and it's increased even more at the house as Forager and Jimmy Olsen shows up. Now, seeing Jimmy with Forager kind of actually made me feel better, because maybe the James, we have to have a talk, isn't the breakup talk, but the I have issues. I have unrest. I need to figure out what's going on in the universe. That's what I'm hoping, because I'm hoping the Olsen Bug and Forager are still together. Because
I look at it as it's over and done with.
But why would he still be there? And why would he be there helping her?
He wasn't with her when they went. The Challengers went where they went.
Well, because he had no place there.
Okay.
You think about it. What would Jimmy Olsen have to add to that team?
I don't know.
Yeah,
be there as a representative of the Earth, be there to...
But it's Jimmy Olsen. Would you really want him as the representative of Earth?
Well, I think that's how Forager is viewing him at this point as well.
See, I don't know.
You just answered your own question.
I don't know. I'm hoping Jimmy's still got a shot. Yeah. I'm leaning. I'm rooting for the man. I'm rooting for him. It's the end of the it's the bottom of the ninth. He's got 2 strikes on him, but I'm like, you can pull it off, man.
Oh, I think her leaving with them is pretty much so the take care, goodbye.
Well, it could be. It's cool because when they're at the house before they all take off, you get some nice moments of the team itself. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do, and Donna once again just drops another bombshell saying, "We're going to monitor the monitors, and oh yeah, Ray, you're going to help us." And you can just see the look on the guy's face, like, "Am I invisible here? Are you guys not listening to me? I don't want to get involved in this. I don't want to do this." He's like, "Why would we want to do this?" And then off camera you see because it's the right thing to do. And it's Nick's, was it Nick's Uaton? The Earth 51 monitor is there, and he's like, this is what you got to do. And even Ray's, you can still see him like, kind of teetering, saying, "I got to think about this." And Donna is Donna. He's like, "No, you don't."
It's Kyle's mask. Because I'm looking at the front cover again with the Kubert's artwork as well. It's Kyle's mask. It either pushes down on his nose or somebody's got it. I don't know. Yeah. No, it's bothering me. I never noticed it before. And I feel bad because I think I'm putting it, unfortunately, on poor Tom Derenick here, and I don't think it's his fault. I think it's the nature of the mask, because it's the same way on the cover artwork, and it's just the mask.
It's kind of like noticing people not having military haircuts in their comics.
This is really
let it go, man. Let it go.
I can't let it go because somebody's got his nose, and that's what, dude. I played that game as a kid. It's annoying because there's that part of you that your nose is still there, but because you can't really see it, you're wondering if they've really got it, and he's wondering right now who's got his nose. Anyway, we're back to the challengers,
and this leads to the whole crew actually going to, and they're confronting the challengers, and it's a really cool hoorah sort of moment. You got Ray's there, Donna, Forager, Kyle without his nose. They're all in costume, and they're basically.
See, you're even thinking it now.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it now because to humor you. And it's kind of neat because they're laying down the law to him. They're like saying, "Hey, you step up. This is how it's going to be. You step out of line, we're going to knock you back into place." And I was like, cool concept, but could they really do it? Think about just the power levels. When they fought like Bob, when they fought Midge, they really couldn't mess with the monitors.
You know what this means? And you'll be happy about this. This makes Donna Troy even more accessible. She used to date the noseless Green Lantern.
So I got a shot. All right. Yeah.
I'm married. I don't have a shot, but hey, she's all yours, baby.
Hell yeah. Okay, I'm not that far gone. And I'm like, yeah, all right.
Well, hey. I do like this whole idea of the challengers. I guess here's the problem, though. We can enforce them.
Yeah,
I'm
how?
confused by that.
Yeah, now,
because they've already been spanked by the monitors.
Now, the one thing they do have on their side, Nix is vouching for him, and he is backing him. So maybe with him along, they could do some. That could be something. Now, you think about it. If you're
against all of them, no, it's still.
Well, numbers. I think it's not going to be. They're saying
it's philosophical discussions,
right?
Just to generate a philosophy and
right. But it's also if one of them steps out of line, they'll go after the one. If it's all of them at once, they're screwed. But they're thinking if one of them tries to do a Midge, where he does a power play, they'll know it's coming, they'll know, and they'll stop it. And that's kind of how I saw it. I don't know, but they're heroes.
No, and I'm not arguing to be petty. I'm being totally serious here. I'm looking at it in the storytelling of Countdown. We've seen them, Kyle, who arguably has the most powerful weapon in the universe, it was useless against the monitors. We saw that back with...
But we also saw Jason...
We saw that with Bob and Midge.
But we also saw Jason, who had the weakest weapon of the group, do enough to break the concentration. So you think about it. They work together, with Nix helping them out.
And they've got Forager now.
They got Forager.
Which they didn't have Forager before.
They have Adam, Donna, all of them working together. Sure. They could take down a monitor, especially because they do have a monitor on their side. Because the way I'm taking it is, Nix is also part of the crew.
Yeah. I guess I'm looking back when the superheroes went up against the Anti-Monitor, it took all of them to take him down. Way back in the original Crisis.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm saying these guys pack.
Well, these pack a punch, yeah, but this is also the splitting up of them. Plus, also,
I guess it should,
one of the arguments you think about is as these monitors develop their own personalities.
Except Nick's rebuilt a world twice.
Right.
Yeah, that to me just is kind of like.
Yeah, there's some
awe-inspiring.
Dude, there is some mega power here. But you think about it, as they develop their own personalities, when you start getting the personality, you also get weaknesses.
Well, and I think what's even more interesting is I think you're right though. I think it's less of a physical threat that they provide is more of a philosophical threat, and Midge is picking up on that because well, and so a new game begins, and he's looking at the fact there's going to be dissension amongst the monitors.
Yeah, big time.
And he's going to be able to take something from that. It's interesting.
Yeah, but I tell you, cool final moments though with Ray though. We didn't come to ask permission. We came to serve notice. Mm-hmm. We're out there. Watch yourselves. That was just a real hoorah kind of moment. Then they flash out in the atom symbol.
Right.
So I was like, okay, that's kind of a cool moment.
I'm not against it. And don't get me wrong. I'm not. I'm looking forward to seeing this story develop. To see the explanation as far as why would they listen to them. Is it because of Nix's support or things like that? I think we're seeing, like you said, this is definitely prologue material. Where is this going to go from here? And this is interesting to see this part. So I'm actually going back to your original point where you're saying this is prologue. Yeah, it is, because let's see what Midge and all them are going to do. And I do get into political, psychological intrigue where it's different philosophies, butting heads. So I think that's interesting because they are definitely pushing that these guys have unique and individual personalities. I'm hoping that this means we're still going to have a multiverse out of all this.
Dude, this has to mean we're just going to be a multiverse.
Or I'm hoping this doesn't completely play out in Final Crisis.
I honestly don't see them destroying the multiverse this time.
I hope
because
so.
The final... I don't know. I don't see it happening. Now, the one thing I was thinking about...
Especially with like a 12-issue series from... following Tangent and that type of thing, I'm hoping that's a pretty good sign that we're still going to have a multiverse at the end of this. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's for sure, but...
Yeah. Now, one thing I was wondering about, from Arena, we had that one Superman take off with his crew.
Okay.
Do you think they're going to play out in Final Crisis?
Oh, you're right. That's a possibility as well.
I'm wondering if we're going to still see those guys. And there's a lot of things out there.
But they're directly... It's Monarch that they're targeting.
Is Monarch dead?
Well, we know what happened at the New York panels. They said to be decided, or to be determined.
Right.
So what does that mean? I don't know.
The ending. This is just, I want to say, perfect ending for this. It ends with Holly and Harley. They're just basically just sitting out there. They're in Gotham, just pretty much contemplating life, contemplating everything they've seen and done, and even Harley knows that this is some significant big type of thing, and they know something big is even coming. And they're just like, how do we compete? How do we deal with this? How do we survive? It's like, a positive attitude and lots of denial. It's just like, so we go with what we go with what works. It's just like a nice
never
little
change, Harley.
Yeah, never change. It's
You know what? I've got to say, and I don't know if you agree with me on this. Out of all of Countdown, these are the two characters. If there's anybody who's going to get their own series, these are the two I most want to see get their own series. I would love to follow these two. I think the right writer could make this a very fun book.
Yeah. And there's even openings for it because these two, they look like they're probably staying at the same place. Because you figure Harley probably doesn't have a place to crash. So, or maybe even Holly doesn't have a place because one of them, they're together there. They're in their place together. It's a good buddy cop / straight man, funny, it's that nice combo.
And set within Gotham, this would be a lot of fun. Yeah. I think this would be a really great series because Harley's nuts, but having her reined in by Holly, it could be a very, very interesting series.
And they wouldn't even need to stay in Gotham. They could technically leave Gotham. And it would still be, I think that'd be kind of interesting, them on the road dealing with everything out there.
I think that
dealing
a
with
lot
strangers.
Of they could go in that series. That would be the one probably out of this I would like to see. Maybe Harley has Kyle's nose.
Well, maybe.
I don't know why I'm so obsessed with that now. It's funny, and I do apologize to the art team if anybody knows them or anything like that. I don't think it's something that's exclusive. I think it's the mask. I think it's the way the mask is drawn. It's just, to me, all of a sudden looking like that. And from the side view, it doesn't. It looks like his nose is kind of smushed a little bit. But I think it's the mask design, because the mask is so thick, there would be a spot in there for the nose to go into, more so. But it's so flat looking, the way the design of the new mask is. And thinking back to it, it's not something exclusive to this. I think it's been since the new mask came on. It looks like that. But to me, it kind of looks like there's no nose there.
Okay.
Yeah. I am having a lot of trouble at issues letting go of this, aren't I?
You are, man. Dude, man, just let it go.
Well,
okay?
like final summation. Let's talk about, as long as we've done 52 weeks of reading this series, and we've done this. This is easily more exhaustive than what we did with 52.
Oh, big time, dude.
And I think one of the reasons why we went this route is because this series was so controversial. Adjusting on the issues that I said, where I don't like Mary right now. I wanted to see her redeemed and all that. I will say this: every week this came out, I grabbed it first, I read it first, and I enjoyed the weekly format. It's hard for me to compare this to a monthly title, because the pacing and the storytelling in a monthly title are going to be very different than this presentation. This was meant to be told in 52 weeks. It was laid out that way. Was it perfection all the time? No. I'll admit myself that I probably gave this a lot more wiggle room and leeway because of the fact that I knew it was a weekly series. But there was always something every issue, and I'm not even saying that to be apologetic, because a lot of times you get the excuse, well, you and Jim are being apologetic, or that type of thing. I don't mean it that way. I think what I'm trying to say is there was something every issue that captivated me. There was a thread every issue that I was really enjoying, while there were other threads that were building, or doing something, or kind of setting up. I enjoy a week. Like, I'm really excited for Trinity coming off this. I know there's some people on the forum that said they're burnt out of the weekly series. I disagree, and I'm not saying that they're wrong for feeling that way. If you are, you are. That's cool. That's your own thought, and that's cool if that's your thing. But I'm excited to see a new weekly series. I'm not saying I want to see more Countdown. Countdown ended, and I'm glad it's done. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I followed it through all 52 weeks. I feel like a sense of accomplishment in the sense that I really enjoyed reading this. I got to follow it all the way through for 52 issues, which in itself, I think following any title for 52 issues is something impressive on any level.
Yeah.
You've got the whole 52-issue run now of Countdown. That's cool. As a collector, I read all that. I enjoyed it. It was a fun ride. Now I'm looking forward to seeing what are we going to do at Trinity. And I'm hoping Trinity's different. I'm sure Trinity's going to be different. It's going to be a new type of presentation. We've got a different creative team on there that are going to do some fun things with that. I'm glad to see this one's going to be focused on the Trinity, which we haven't seen done in a weekly series yet. I like the weekly format, though. Are you like, at the end of this, you kind of like, well, I'm not so excited for Trinity anymore? Where are you at for Trinity?
Oh, dude, I'm stoked. Yeah. I enjoyed this. I like the weekly format. I like the fact that they said it's a weekly comic, and it came out every week. Mm-hmm. We never had. This is 2 years in a row.
Right.
A weekly comic, no delays, no holdups, no nothing. I gotta say, just that one impresses me. Two, the fact that now they're going to the Trinity. They're going to Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. It's a great move on their part, because this will probably, I'm hoping, reinvigorate this weekly format, because I do like the weekly format. I like that every week there's something for me to read. Now, granted, I'm getting enough titles that there is always going to be something for me to read, but I
like the serialized weekly book, though. I don't want all, and I should clarify, I don't want all my books to go this route. I like having a weekly serialized book, though. Like, I don't want them to start doing 2 or 3 or 4 of these.
No.
I think having a rotating one, like, I'm enjoying the process of following one weekly title. I like the fact that they're going the route of having one big story in those 52 weeks that you can follow along and be serialized. I like, though, the monthly storytelling as well. So I'm not saying that I would like a transition to this. I don't necessarily need that. I'm liking kind of like what Johns and Robinson are doing. They feel as writers there's a reason for them to be interconnecting their 2 titles. So it's basically like we're going to have bi-weekly Superman. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason for the writers to do that, and they're into the whole idea. But I don't necessarily need I don't need the Bat books to do that if the writers don't want to do that. In this case with Trinity, I'm looking forward to the fact, though, that this is going to be set up to be a contained 52-week series. There's going to be ramifications coming out of the whole thing. They've already said it takes place before Batman Rip and Final Crisis, but that we're going to see things in there that will later play out into the universe. I'm excited for that. I enjoyed Countdown a great deal. Was it perfection? I enjoyed it every week. I picked it up every week. I stand behind everything we've said on every episode through this whole thing.
And I'll even say, it wasn't perfection. I think it's almost impossible to give you perfection. There are some stories out there that
even
you
your
look at
titles,
that,
you can say that.
You look at it. There's some stories out there that you're like, yes, this. I would say this, Jim. I would say this is perfection. But you also
like your Sinestro Corps.
Yeah, Sinestro Corps War. It's anybody.
Secret Six was up there for me. Is something like that.
Stuff
which
like
is
that.
A lot
but
of fun.
something like of this magnitude, I don't think you could achieve perfection.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an entertaining read. I'm glad I got it. At the end there, I'm glad I got it. I am looking at. I'll probably
I have
pick up
no
the trades.
regrets.
And just have something for the read through a second time
See,
through.
I don't know. This one, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I'm glad I have all the single issues. I'm probably gonna hold on to those. I don't know if I'm going to the trade on this one.
See, I'm actually leaning towards maybe picking up the trades for this one as well, just because I like having that that letter book. There's the 52, the thing, and then I'll have Trinity next to it, and it's I don't know.
Okay. So you're saying to have all the weeklies kind of in that format? I might. I don't know.
Because it's I've
got so many trades I want to get right now. That's part of the problem. Because I'm looking at that Absolute Ronin, and I'm like, well, I'm going to start picking up because I have not been buying. Have you bought any of the Countdown trades yet? Because they've been available for pre-order. Did you pre-order any of them?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so you're ahead of me. I didn't.
I had to think for a second if I had or not.
Yeah, I have not pre-ordered any of the Countdown trades yet, which I did for the 52 when they started being solicited. Although the 52 ones, they waited till after it was done to solicit them, if I remember correctly. Or it was like right at the tail end, the first one was being solicited. I might be...
Yeah, I
remember they were waiting until the story was done, so I think it was during like that last month they were soliciting the first one. I don't know. I enjoyed this ride. I really enjoyed this ride. The Mary story, which was my favorite thread, I was kind of disappointed in how it ended because I wanted to see Mary redeemed. But that was... I predicted early on that was what was going to happen, and I think I got myself so psyched into the fact that we're going to see a redemption of Mary. That might be me psyching myself into that. You can kind of do that in a movie. Like you kind of assume a certain ending, and then when that ending doesn't happen, you get upset. I'm kind of at that point, I think, with that one. It's more my own brain freeze. I really liked Piper and Trickster.
Oh, yeah. And
Jimmy was great.
The thing I really liked about Countdown was that it was a complete merger of all the separate storylines into one focal final battle, final event. All the characters were interacting, all the characters were dealing with each other and the problems and whatnot. I liked that about Countdown, that it did focus and it did bring everything tight into one place.
The pacing was pretty solid all the way through. There were some parts, like I think, where you were mentioning where you maybe could have snuck in a couple other things for the storytelling. It didn't bother me at that point. I think I did notice towards like 8 to 1, there were some things that to me felt pacing-wise a little rushed. But then you brought up your checkerboard principle, and that the players seemed to be moving around on the chessboard, and that was kind of the thing for me that kind of corrected some of those issues for me as well. I'm glad I read it. I'm really glad I read it. And that's kind of the interesting summation of the whole thing. It was 52 weeks in the whole thing. And there was never a point where I was like, I want to drop this. Or it's a chore to read this. And I think that's the sign of a good story.
Yeah. Yeah. Never did I think it's a chore to read it. There was a couple of times when I was like, oh, God, I got to get ready my notes. That was a tough sometimes.
But that's to do it for the show.
Yeah, that's for the show. Sometimes there was some tough stuff.
That's not actually to read it.
No, never
that's for
to
the
read
show.
it. It was sometimes for the show. And that's why I'm glad we're not going to be handling Trinity this way. Because I'm glad we're changing things up for Trinity. We're going to do it a little differently.
Well, and we're changing it up for Trinity mainly because I think we've done this so exhaustively. I want to start talking about some of the other books in the universe. And I think if we try to do Trinity on this level, we're going to wind up where we did with Countdown, where we weren't able to expand out as much as we want to. And I really want to do like an episode a month where you and I can kind of, and I think it's something we're going to start getting into in, sometime in June, where we can get an episode where you and I kind of trade off and each bring single issues of titles. Instead of doing 2 or 3 or 4, just a single issue of a book that we haven't talked about in a while. Let's just casually talk. We'll do the in-depth of that issue, but then casually talk about events leading up to it. I'd like to get back to doing that, back like we did when 1 Year Later hit.
Yeah.
Where we can start talking about some more books again. I really had fun with Action Comics, randomly just grabbing that issue and saying, let's talk about the ending of that. DC Zero. Just talking about that issue. We'll do some of that during Final Crisis with some of the tie-ins and things like that as well. I think it'll be kind of a fun way to do that. But also, I want to casually, at least as much as possible, follow Batman Rip, Legion of Three Worlds, just the rise of the Olympian, from Wonder Woman. There's so much stuff going on. But I also want to touch on books like Blue Beetle, Booster Gold. There's so much stuff going on in the universe. Secret Six when it comes out. I don't know. That hasn't been solicited yet, though. There's so many books, though, that we don't get to that I want to talk about. And Teen Titans. You're a big
we got
fan
to
of
talk
that.
about Titans.
Robin,
Man, I'm
Nightwing,
going nuts. Yeah.
Supergirl. There's a lot of books out there that I think, are smaller books that I think we should be touching on a little bit more too. So this will provide some opportunities. I'm glad we did this way, though. We kind of bookended it for... You know why I'm glad we bookended this? We have listeners who still send us emails or forum comments that they started listening to the show, they're going back and reading 52 and following along with our 52 discussion. There are people who maybe jumped onto our show late, who maybe are reading, Countdown for the first time. They're going to go back and listen to this and follow along with our Countdown discussion. So I'm glad we bookended this because these stay around afterwards. So, and thank you for all of you for sticking with us on this. It's one of those things where I appreciate you guys listening. And please feel free in the forum to give us your own thoughts on Countdown. Did you like it? Did you not? What did that look like for you? Because I'm always intrigued, even if it's a different experience than ours, just to kind of hear your thoughts. Because we've had a lot of listeners who have jumped on board and said that they enjoyed Countdown. A lot of listeners who dropped Countdown partway through. What was your favorite thread in Countdown? What stood out for you? I'm kind of curious to hear that as well.
Can Batman escape? One hint, the worst is yet to come.
Jim, just a couple things I want to shout out. We're going to be doing an episode very soon with Comic Geek Speak. We're going to be recording, I believe, next weekend, it looks like. It's going to be a crossover between our two shows where we get a chance to, and I'll announce when the episode's released for Comic Geek Speak. You and I are going to go on their show to talk about Countdown. And we're going to compare our thoughts with their thoughts. I've actually got to go back now. With shows like Comic Geek Speak where they do Countdown episodes, I deliberately avoid listening to them, not because I love CGS, but those are the episodes of CGS I've avoided, because I haven't wanted to bias myself, our show, with their thoughts. I didn't want to regurgitate, because some of our listeners listen to CGS, and I didn't want those guys to say, well, geez, I just heard on Raging Bullets what I heard on CGS. We kind of did our own unique presentation without having that in our head. And I do that with other podcasts, too. Comic Book Noise has done some great episodes with it, and I want to go back and listen to those now. So now's my chance to I've been downloading all these things and cataloging a lot of podcasts that I listen to, their Countdown shows, and I want to kind of go back and casually kind of enjoy listening to other podcast thoughts now, because I didn't want to be like, well, geez, Sean, all he's doing is regurgitating stuff he heard on other podcasts, and because I listen to a lot more podcasts than you do.
Yeah, well, there's some stuff I was definitely avoiding because I didn't want to actually accidentally hear somebody else's comments and then pass it off as my own.
Right.
Because I have to watch that I don't do that by accident. It's not intentional. If I hear something, I'm like, oh yeah, the next thing I know, I'm justifying it in my head, saying, hey, I came up with that idea. Then I'm like, wait, no, I didn't, did I? And so I avoided a lot of Countdown discussions that I'm going to be
the only ones
going back to.
I will say I pulled in a lot of times on our show. A lot of my thoughts came from our forum discussions, and I think those are a little bit more interactive. And I will say more towards the latter part of it, when it started to be that you and I couldn't. We haven't had the time to get in the forum comments from Countdown. I started reading over the forum to try and get a lot of those thoughts into my head to at least bring a representation of that onto the show, because we've had so many other things we've been getting to. And that forum discussion has been great. And I'll probably do that more often when I know that we can't get to the forum discussion, to try and get those thoughts in and pull them from those threads so they're included as a part of our discussion rather than being ignored. I wish I had done that more during Countdown. It's kind of one of those hindsight's 2020 type of things to be able to yank that in, and that's something I'll try to do a little bit more of in the future. I also want to give a shout out to the Alternate Reality podcast. Tomorrow night I'm going to be recording with them. You're thinking about...
I will not be able to do it.
Okay, because you said you're going to have no internet, right?
Yeah, that's going down, and plus I got some stuff from work that I got to take care of, and so it's going to be a long day for me tomorrow.
So I'm going to be on that. They're going to be doing a countdown. It's going to be a 1-hour show. It's going to be a countdown discussion and a Final Crisis preview. So it's going to be nice to kind of interact with some different people on that. So I'm definitely going to be on that, and I will announce some of that on the forum and on the website and on our next episode, obviously, with what the details are for that. I want to give a shout out to the Hero Initiative. Just remember to go to RagingBullets.com if you are interested at all in participating in the Hero Initiative. Remember, we've got T-shirts from Joseph Luciano, which you can contact me, Dr. Norge, at the Raging Bullets forums. Or if you want to, ragingbullets@gmail.com. We have T-shirts still left. We've got we've got medium, large, and extra large. I think there's one extra large left. And so, definitely $10, donate, and you get a free shirt. You can give it to somebody. It's a great-looking shirt. If it's not your size and you want to give it to somebody in your family, it's definitely you get a free shirt for donating $10 to the Hero Initiative. Just tell me, hey, and you can even send me an email. Sean, I donated $10 to the Hero Initiative. Can you send me a shirt? It's really, we're looking for, Hero Initiative donations. It's not for Raging Bullets in any way. I want to get these shirts out there to people. And I'm looking at me, shipping these out to people as kind of my donation to the Hero Initiative. So that's kind of cool. Our sponsors for this episode are DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Absolute Ronin, Jim. The Absolute volumes are $99 at retail. This is Frank Miller, the art by Frank Miller, story by Frank Miller. In this tale, the legendary warrior known only as Ronin, a disgraced 13th century samurai, is given a second chance to avenge his master's death and regain his honor. Reborn in a futuristic and corrupt 21st century New York City, the Ronin must defeat the reincarnation of his master's killer, the ancient demon Agat. And this is, with the promotional art in the background, fold-out pages and special features, huge, artwork and all this. This is what, to me, Absolute Volumes are all about. I have the trade. Yeah. There's no way I'm not pre-ordering this one. At 50% off.
See, that's the thing that I've never read it, but you're telling me the story. I'm like, oh, man, 50% off? Like, I don't know.
Well, see, that to me is usually the deciding factor for an Absolute for me is if I can get it at 50% off, and there's any chance I would possibly want it, I'm going to get it at the 50% off.
Yeah, see,
that's what hooks me.
That's what's hooking me, and I'm like, oh man.
I'm like a fish for that. Like they got me on the hook and we're ready to go. Ambush Bug Year None, 1 of 6. The Ambush Bug. It's Keith Giffen and Robert Loren Fleming. Art by Giffen and Al Milgram. It's one of those things. This is a spoof, and it's cities will be destroyed, cats and dogs will live in sin, every unanswered question of the DC universe will be answered, live heroes will die and dead heroes will live. Okay, none of that actually happens, but join us anyway for this totally irreverent romp through the DC universe as only Ambush Bug could give you. And it's 74 cents. It's a $2.99 book, 75% off. If I wasn't even interested, I would pick it up for 74 cents, just on general principle. But we've talked about Ambush Bug before. Now, here was interesting. Your experience with Ambush Bug, you never read Ambush Bug when it came out, when the stuff was contemporary. Are you excited to pick up Ambush Bug now that it's all a spoof of current stuff?
Yeah, because, see, the issue I had with Ambush Bug when we did it before, there were some moments that I thought were hysterical. With the doll,
Yeah, we're going back. I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. But I like that. But there's some stuff where it was when they were spoofing on the current DCU, I didn't get the jokes. You didn't read
any of that stuff, right?
So I didn't know it. Well, now they're doing current continuity stuff that I know. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm picking this up, and it's I was kind of excited to see what's going down.
I'm going to avoid reading some of the spoilers for this one and just say Final Crisis number 3 of 7 because it has some of the tidbits about there, and I don't want to ruin anything for Final Crisis for anybody. Written by Grant Morrison, art by J.G. Jones. It's $3.99 an issue. Remember, these are oversized issues. $3.99 an issue, only $2.39 with the 40% off. And for people who are saying, "Wow, rising costs of comics and things like that. How can I do that?" It's 40 pages of comic book that's going to be here for Final Crisis, and you're getting it for $2.39.
Nice.
Yeah, so you can't argue with that. So whatever your shipping preferences, whatever your bag and boarding preferences, DCBS accommodates your collecting needs, and I do encourage you to email them. If you have any questions about the service or any questions about customizing it to your needs, they're really a lot of the options that you may not readily see on the website, they're willing to do to accommodate you. Normal things that you would expect through a mail order shipping service. So double check with them and see if they can meet your needs on any of those things that you don't see on the site. Don't forget our in-stock trades book of the month is Legion of Superheroes Eye for an Eye. We'll be joined by Darth Kramer from the Shades Journal podcast. That is the first 6 issues from the 1984 series. So if you never read that one, regularly $17.99, only $11.33. You still have time to get that. It's either going to be next week's show or the week afterwards. Please check the forum of the website for details on when we're releasing that. I got to talk to Darth Kramer now that we've finished Countdown. I'm okay, it's time to delve into Legion of the Superheroes and see when it works into his schedule. We're going to be doing that. And Vertigo fans, I want to remind you to check out, and Jim and I talked about at the beginning episode, the Faker trade paperback, the entire 6-issue miniseries, regularly $14.99, only $9.44, 37% off for a trade. And it's great. It's in stock. In stock trades is your source for your collected edition needs. So if you're looking for a trade, go to their website. It's an exhaustive website, Jim, and I think it's over $50. It's free shipping. So if you've got a lot of trades you've been looking for to fill in your collection, go grab a few trades and get them from them. You get all the trades at a discount plus free shipping if you do over $50 on your order. So it's a really good deal, considering you're getting everything at a discount anyways. So thank you for supporting us, dcbservice.com and instocktrades.com. And look at the website for details on our next episode, because Jim and I need to discuss that and take a look at what we're doing, if we're going to have Darth Kramer on and do that. I know this week's going to be, which we're definitely not going to do it this week. It'll be the week afterwards. We're going to do a Smallville season finale show. So I'm going to talk to I got a lot of people I got to contact this week. So we are still fleshing out the next couple episodes because there's a lot of things we want to get in. We haven't done a Smallville show in a while. We've got that to do. We got a Starman show coming up eventually. I want to get those 2 things out of the way as well. We got Final Crisis going to be coming up probably in about 3 episodes, I think, from the way things are going to work out. We'll do our first Final Crisis episode. We have a whole bunch of books we want to talk about, so it may be just one of those things where you and I talk midweek and say, hey, you want to talk about this? So we'll be getting to some of those things, which is actually kind of a lot of fun too. So check the website and the forum for more details, and thanks again for sticking with us on this one. This is kind of it's an accomplishment for us, Jim. We finished it.
I know. We did it.
Woo.
Bye.
Just give me your name and something you're reading right now.
Hi, this is Doug. I'm reading Countdown to Infinite Crisis. That last issue really rocked with that final battle between Orion and Darkseid. We're waiting about 20 years for that, so it's good it finally happened. What else am I reading? I think that's about it for right now.
I didn't see that one coming, especially after Death of the New Gods. I saw a helmet sitting there. I guess they swerved me on that one completely. You didn't read,
Well, if there's no body, if it's just a helmet, that means that the guy may be still alive. You need to see a body in comics, and even when you see a body, it really doesn't make a difference at the end of the day, does it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Want to get your name on there and something you're reading right now.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Wood, Jason Wood. What am I reading? Let's see. I have to do DC stuff, right? You know what? Green Arrow, Black Canary. Mad props for that.
What are you liking about Green Arrow, Black Canary? What is it about this relaunch that's grabbing you right now?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm a big Winnick fan. I actually think he's kind of underrated, so I love that he's back doing, characters that I think he really knows well. Cliff Chang's art was beautiful, so, I think it was really energetic, and although it started off kind of sad, obviously, with what happened, I don't want to give spoilers away, but, I think they kind of bounced back. It's back to kind of a happy, energetic book, and I love Mike Norton, of course, fan of Mike, and he's taking over, so, it's the first time I'm actually buying a Mike Norton book where I was already reading it, so it's pretty giddy. So, great book. Love it.
That was great, too. I was worried about who the artist was going to come on to replace him when I found it was Mike Norton. That's great. We were just talking about the news at the panel that Secret Six is now going to be an ongoing series. Gail Simone, Nicola Scott, the Old Birds of Prey team are now back, and the team is going to be Ragdoll, it's going to be Scandal, Catman and Deadshot are going to be on the team, along with a major Batman Rogues Gallery villain.
Which I assume is Catwoman. I assume that's Catwoman only because her book just got canceled, but I could be wrong. But
that actually would be a great choice for that particular team, especially with where she's going right now. I didn't even think of that, but it all kind of comes together, and probably why they're hiding it at the moment. And then Jeanette, I think, was the name of the character, who is a brand new character created by Gail Simone and Nicola Scott for this series, who has a secret of some sort from the Secret Six that they don't even know.
Right. I suspect it's probably a character that we already know in the new guys, and we'll find out over time who it really is, but I don't know who. I'm excited, though, because Secret Six was probably one of the best minis that have come out in a long, long time from DC mainstream, and it's great that Gail's getting a chance to do characters she loves. Because obviously she brought him back in Birds of Prey as well, and it was fantastic. That was a great way. So I'm as giddy about that news as I've been in a long time.
To me, and Jeff Johns actually announced that they were talking about Suicide Squad, and he had talked at one point about doing a Suicide Squad series, and he said right now he's having so much fun with the Flash Rogues that he feels that's covering that area for him, and he feels with Gail Simone doing Secret Six, that they've really got that kind of a title captured right now, and I agree. I think it's really neat. There are different kinds of characters to explore. Wood, you and I have been missing each other at multiple events. We were at the CGS 300 show. We were both in the same room. We never got to say hello, so it's great to finally meet you.
Absolutely.
You bought a lot of my stuff, too.
That's true. I guess I was there on Friday and I left Saturday at CGS 300, and you were there on Saturday and left Sunday, so we kind of missed each other. But yeah, it's true. I think, I don't know how many issues, but I bought, 3 or 4 complete runs of DC stuff from you on eBay, so.
Absolutely.
Let me just endorse, if you see Dr. Nord selling stuff on eBay, number 1, it's really well graded and kept care of. 2, it's fairly priced, and 3, he throws in goodies on top of that, so definitely buy his stuff.
Especially for people who listen to the show. But thank you, seriously. Thank you for listening to the show and being such a great supporter. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, I love you guys, and it's a blast. You guys are a breath of fresh air because you're so optimistic. Way more optimistic, frankly, than I am even, which is great because I kind of need that sometimes to keep perspective and not become a whiny fanboy as we're all prone to. So keep up the good work, and I'll see you guys later tonight.
All right, thanks a lot, pal.
All right, man.
Name right now and forum name.
All right, my name is Leroy Rivera, and my forum name is Ziggo.
Okay. Now you're just getting started with a podcast. Can you tell us the name of your podcast and what your podcast is about right now?
Well, actually, the name of the podcast is Comic Tube, and it's pretty much a podcast that covers movies, television shows, and video games, mostly based on comic books, but we're also going to talk about fantasy as well as science fiction.
So you're like kind of an all-encompassing for fans who are like this kind of material. It's great.
Yeah, it is. Which just pretty much, I realized that most podcasts out there in the comic book podcasting, they pretty much cover comic books. They haven't really covered the media per se, and that's what I want to do. That's my goal.
Right, so you're hitting on a niche right now that you're seeing that's kind of missing at the moment.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Do you have maybe like some of your show topics that are going to be coming up that you're thinking of covering? What are some of the show topics that you're thinking of covering right now?
Well, pretty much just reviewing television shows and movies, but also have conversations as to where movies are headed in general, or maybe specific breakdowns on characters per se. Actually, I think on episode 2 of our comic podcast, we do a breakdown on Lionel Luthor from the beginning of the season to right now, where he is right now and where he might be going.
That's great. So for Smallville fans, definitely check out your podcast for that. Also right now, comic-wise, what are you reading right now comic-wise? Something that's really grabbing you at the moment?
Really, from all the titles I can think of, actually Booster Gold. I'm enjoying Booster Gold by Jeff Johns, as well as Green Lantern, of course, but everyone is as well. But Booster Gold is actually one that isn't getting as much credit as it should be. I mean, it comes out every month, and I enjoy it. I can't wait for the next issue, and not a lot of people seem to be picking it up, that I've spoken to at least.
What is it about Booster Gold right now that's making it a series that you're saying, I want to read this right now? What is it that's really grabbing you?
Well, aside the fact that Jeff Johns is writing it, it's pretty much picking up pieces after 52, the series that happened 52, and also, if you read between the context, there are hints of what might happen in the DC universe. A lot of things with Rip Hunter and his chalkboard reports, they keep appearing, and there's just a lot of hints as to what may go down in the DC universe right now. And it's just a great story, just really fun to read, just really enjoyable.
I really liked at the panel today when we were there that they talked about we're going to finally learn who Rip Hunter is in this series. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that's I think a question that's been on everyone's mind. I haven't picked up the Time Masters trade, but I might do that right around here. I'll probably go to a booth and pick that up as well because he's a very interesting character. I love him. Yeah.
So I'm anxious to see some of those resolutions because they've hinted that there's some weird relationship with there, but we never really have seen a resolution of that. And I'm glad to see something that was a thread from so long ago being something that's playing into the current series and that they haven't ignored that.
Yeah, exactly. And also, if you read behind, he's always been so mysterious about his identity. But in my personal opinion, the way that I read it, he's hiding something. At least that's how I'm reading it. So I want to know, is he hiding something or something's going on with his character? And I just can't wait to see what that is.
That's great. I want to wish you the best of luck on your podcast. I want to thank you for being such a good friend and supporter of our show. I'm just really glad I met you last year at this time, and I'm glad that we've got a friendship right now. And thanks a lot for all you've done for us as a friend of the show.
Oh, thanks a lot. Actually, thank you as well for helping me out. Hey, it's always good to have comic geeks as friends. So,
well, welcome to the podcasting community.
Thanks a lot, man.
Cool. You know what? Hey, buddy, tell us who you are and what you do.
This is Juan Jesus from Geeks Unite, and you're listening to Raging Bullets.
Juan, what's something that you're reading? It could be a sound clip. Juan, what are you doing? What is something right now that you're doing on Geeks Unite?
Right now, we have Milo Ventimiglia on the show. We're going to have David Mack tomorrow, so please tune in. And right now, what we're doing is we're reformatting our show once again to give you the best show possible.
That's great. I've liked the evolution of Geeks Unite, so I'm looking forward to seeing especially the David Mack interview for me. I'm going to geek out at that, so I'm looking forward to listening to that.
Why don't you sit in on an interview?
I'm sorry.
It was so conversational.
Yeah.
Sorry. No.
It should be your thing.
All right.
That's why. Yeah.
No, but we feel that Geeks Unite has to evolve because we've been in a rut lately, and we're going to admit it. Right. My schedule as a graduate student and Ralph's schedule is more set than mine. I'm taking the summer off, and I'm also taking the semester off. I'm going to dedicate more time to the show, and we're going to do things to make the show better, to make it easier to listen to. And we're still going to keep some of our segments, Power Diving, World Trades. We're also going to pick DVD picks on our Power Diving episodes. But how do you feel about the Power Diving episodes, by the way?
Sorry?
How do you feel about the Power Diving episodes?
As a listener, I'm liking them. I mean, they're really good. I think what would be good for our listeners right now who maybe haven't listened to Geeks Unite before, seeing as you're kind of making a change and reformatting and reworking your show, what is Geeks Unite to you right now? So that way, a listener maybe who's never heard you guys before and who wants to check you out right now, what would Geeks Unite be to them?
Well, what Ralph started to do, and it's still the mission statement of Geeks Unite, is we're the podcast that seeks to unite all the geeks. DC Zealots or DC Bulleteers, right? Marvel Zombies, Independents, comic book geeks, television geeks. You're a geek for anything, and Geeks Unite is the show for you. Because if you like fashion and you're passionate about it, and you know more than two designers that aren't Ralph Lauren and Tommy Hilfiger, you're a fashion geek. If you know that your can shaft needs to be replaced and your rocker pins have to go, you're a geek. And we're here to talk about anything that you go geek for. And that has and forever will be the mission statement of Geeks Unite.
So you're just all about passion in general for a variety of different medium.
Yeah, and what the best thing about Geeks Unite is, if you're really passionate about it, you shoot us an email, you're going to be on the show. Right? We're very, very interactive. We want people included. Including our general audience. The United Front is what we'd like to call our people. And what you're going to do is shoot us an email. You say, I'm passionate about 80s music. And I will do prep and do as much as possible to bring 80s music and possibly clips of Air Supply. Because I love Air Supply in Boston. It's been such a long time. I think I should be going. Not for the... It's a Boston record.
That's good. I really enjoyed doing the Lone Ranger episode because one of the things we all got to do is geek out about the Lone Ranger on there. What is something DC related right now that you're geeking out over? What's something that you're saying, wow, right now this is something that each month I like to grab, I'm really enjoying at the moment?
Wonder Woman, no doubt. And I'm not saying that to praise at the altar of Gail Simone. It has turned around so greatly. And the Jay Torres issue weren't that bad. But Jay Torres and Gail Simone know how to write Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman has her voice back. And she's a little quirky, just enough to make her plausible. And I like that. I'm not liking a bunch of stuff, but they're doing things to turn it around. And Wonder Woman has become the key book to that. She is the stepping stone to making the universe so much more better.
What is it about the character at the moment or the storytelling at the moment that's really grabbing you? Are there specific elements or specific things happening that you're like, wow, this is really what I want to be reading in this book at the moment?
What gets me is now she's developing the whole Steve Trevor angle, except with Nemesis, who's a character from DC history. There's going to be a legacy character coming out of this one way or another, right? And what better character is than someone who is powerless but does everything he can to stand up for the same thing that Wonder Woman does? You know, and Wonder Woman, she's being really aggressive. I'm courting you. And he goes, whoa, should I like meet your parents? And she's like, no, I don't have a dad. You know, what are you going to do? I was made out of clay. I'm sorry. But Wonder Woman has become so much more human and yet so much more godlike at the same time. And that's a fine line that Gail does very well.
I'm so happy. Every time I think of the fact that she's made out of clay, I'm convinced she's the Gumby of the DC universe.
Gumby. Oh man, she doesn't go through the blockheads though. She doesn't hit on the blockheads.
Yeah, so it's fun. Anyway, I want to encourage everyone to please check out Geeks United. It's a wonderful podcast. They're great friends of the show. We're going to be doing something with you soon. Raph and I were already talking about it. We don't know what it is yet, but we're getting there. So we'll be.
You know what? We love having Raging Bullets on the show because that means we have content for more than 6 weeks.
Anyway, thanks a lot for your friendship and support, both as a listener before you're a podcaster and as a friend as a podcaster. So,
and if people don't know, I started listening episode 1.
Yeah, you've been around for a long time. So thank you for sticking with me, my friend.
So I once again said it's been such a long time, I think I should be going. Take care.